A brand new face, a brand new refresh, and we are ready to go from the Virginia Commonwealth. Welcome to the KBueno Racing Network's coverage and the Thousand Islands Corrette pre-race show as we get ready for the second race of the Season 8 4-wide racing TJ's Team Series. We're back again at this .75 mile oval in Henrico County, Virginia. As always, happy that you're joining us on the KBueno Racing Network for another Wednesday night thriller alongside Francisco Bacchiao and Keelan Belsha and Charlie Byer for tonight's coverage. I am Kenneth Bueno, and Keelan, will start with you. Basically, from what we saw last week at Daytona, I still don't know how we can really describe how that race went, especially in the run-up to the checkered flag, but what I will say is this: a big-time change in between what was last week at the World Center of Racing, what is now at this virtual Richmond Raceway, 8th all-time visit to this short track here in Virginia, so it should be another stellar one as we try to decide who will be that favorite come playoff time later in the year.
Yeah, Kenneth, it's great to be here tonight. It's good to see Francisco up here with us and Charlie joining us again on pit road. So it's going to be a fun one. But yeah, last week it was hard to wrap a bow on that show because it was just chaotic coming down all the way to the checkered flag, and then it doesn't get much easier tonight at Richmond. You know, Season 7, we kind of eased into the schedule. We went to Auto Club race 2, but they're not going to have that easy, transition into some easier tracks. They're going straight into the Lion's Den, into the short track that is Richmond, and it's going to be a tough race on a lot of guys, and this race is more wide open than it ever has been as we go into this short track.
I was about to say, not entirely an easy switch from a 2.5 mile super speedway to a very short track in Richmond, to which we've seen lots of troubles, lots of chaos. We'll delve into the details as we push forward into this event. But Francisco, as we dive into Richmond, not often do we see this track take place as the second race in the schedule. We had it rather early on in Season 7, but most of the time in 4-wide history, Richmond is always in the middle part of the schedule, maybe the first 5 to 10 races, but never right after the opening event. So how will drivers have to pivot from what was a chaotic race at Daytona and now try to control their destiny just a little bit more here from Richmond?
Yeah, Richmond is going to be so much more different than Daytona was when you consider just how you go about preparation and trying to race the racetrack. This track, it's more about patience. You have to be patient on the brakes. You have to be patient on the throttle. And you have to really mind your business because you can either step out the rear or overdrive and kill the front tires off of it. So you have to be mindful. You have to give space. Otherwise, we could see, like we did last season, a bunch of wrecks and a bunch of yellow flags.
Usually this race in history has taken part in many overtime restarts. That has usually decided who gets the checkered flag. Last season, it was Brandon Hawken taking the win. This season could be very well a different driver given the context of what we've seen in the lead up to Season 8 and after last week's festivities at the World Center of Racing. Well, speaking of Daytona, that's where we were last week. To kick off Season 8, we had 2 dual races to decide the running order, and Francisco, you were up here on the front row alongside Curtis Kelly for the first several laps. Already, things would get squealy for Francisco. He would go sideways off of turn 4. He saved it through the pits, and no yellow would come out. We had some different leaders, but Keelan, it was all about strategy early on. For Gabriel Dahari, not so much a good outcome, but for the rest of BBR, early pitting at lap 15, the rest of the field will have to follow suit in the run.
Yeah, the strategy's really switched up, and that was the benefit of having such a long green flag run to open up the show. A lot of different strategies and a lot of different lines getting together. But the trouble ended up starting for Zachary Cato. Him and Jacob Lockley or Timothy Cook made contact right there and caused a stack up right there. And then they got back into green flag racing. Curtis Kelly, AJ Green hooking up, trying to make a move, and right there, Kevin DeLea, Timothy Cook, they get into it again, and that caused another yellow, and the trend started. We had a few more of those as we were getting closer and closer to the checkered flag as the aggression continued to ramp up.
It got really sketchy, especially around here. This was another pair of green flag pit stops led by Juan Escamilla, who took control rather late in the race. It was a good time showing, seeing that 87 up in the front. And then more carnage down the tri-oval. Lawson Peel, big push from Brandon Banks. He would get into the car on the outside, create a big time crash. And then it would come down to late race festivities. Francisco leading at the front, Christopher Bishop and Kyle Benson trying to breathe some life into a third lane, and then everything would break loose down the super stretch. Zachary Cato getting turned around after a fantastic run. And in the run up to the line off of turn 4, Justin Rahm making the move up high, crashes into Francisco, and look who is there, 9th off of turn 4, first at the cross of the start-finish line. Michael Walls out of nowhere. We didn't have any words properly to describe the end of that race and that run up to the start-finish line, but Michael wins in his first ever 4-wide try, and it's from Daytona after being basically right in the middle of things but not hitting a single car in the run up to the grass and seeing the checkered flag for the very first time. Well, let's join the winner from last week in Michael Walls. Led a bunch of laps, but of course that final lap was crucial in getting through the mayhem. Michael, welcome. Congratulations once again on taking your first 4-wide career victory in your first start last Wednesday. What are the emotions in the aftermath of that race and how you're feeling going into tonight's event from Richmond?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm still pretty much shocked that we won that race somehow. But yeah, going tonight, we're just hoping for a good, strong, just momentum going into this season. We already had to win, so we're just gonna go into this race hoping for a good finish, get some good points out of it, and maybe we'll be there at the end and compete. So.
You told us then how important that win was and how wild it was for you in general, just with all the elation and the shock value from being 9th off turn 4 and then winning the race at the stripe. You're part of a new team. Go Incorporated is starting to put their foot into the 4-wide door. So how important was that to get that first victory, not only for yourself, but have that team be on the top step of the podium the first ever time they bring themselves to the racetrack as a group?
Yeah, I think it's very crucial for us to come in here and, in other leagues, we try to come in and we try to be as dominant as we can right off the bat. So we come in here and, we get our first win just like that. It's a great way for the organization just to come in here and get a win like that. So
very huge, and I'm sure you're going to want to carry off of that momentum tonight from Richmond, and with the playoff spot now in your hands, going to try and keep a consistent run throughout the rest of Season 8. I know that we in the broadcast booth last week couldn't really bring ourselves to find words to describe everything that went down in the lead up to the tri-oval and when the checkered flag flew. So I'm going to show you something on the screen. If you could see it in our chat, this is what you were seeing. What did you see? What were you thinking in this moment? You're 9th off turn 4. You see them crash in front of you. What happens?
Yeah, it was just, I saw these cars wrecking in front of me, and I was trying to avoid as much as I could. I don't know, just try to send it through the grass, try not to hit anybody, and hope we make it through somehow, some way, and it was a miracle, so.
Is it kind of that mindset of you're never lifting despite the circumstances? You're never going to lift off the gas pedal in that situation?
Yeah, even in kind of practices, I always goof around and never lift off the gas if there's a wreck in front of me, and, it kind of maybe paid off, so.
It was really cool, and it resulted in your first ever 4-ride victory. Hopefully things fare well for you tonight from Richmond. Thank you for the time, Micah, and best of luck when we take the green flag.
Thank you.
That's Michael Walls taking the victory from Daytona last week, currently 17th in practice, but still trying to get his bearings together at our first trip to a short track this season. Keelan, I think if I was that driver and Michael Walls, I also wouldn't have words to describe my own victory because it was just as chaotic as it could ever be, with the field crashing in front and him just having enough space between himself and the rest of the crashing field in front to be able to cross that line first.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good at a track like Daytona. Just having, the mindset that coming off turn 4, you're not taking your foot off that gas pedal no matter what. And I know a lot of guys are wired that way when they're coming off turn 4 at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, something like that. They're going to put their foot down and hope they get lucky, and that's what happened to Michael Walls last week. But this is a very talented driver. I don't think that's the last time he's going to win this season. If we look at KBRN trucks this year, he's had a lot of good runs, been really fast, so I think that's going to transition well to 4-wide, and I think he's going to get multiple wins this year.
And he's starting to carry that trend of rookie drivers that have succeeded so well in this 4-wide series over the last several years. We think about crucial names that are now irregulars in this series. You could call him Forrester, AJ Green, who won the championship in his rookie season. So did Ethan Fonseca Moreno back in Season 6. We obviously have to talk about Brandon Hawken, who won 9 career victories in one season to be able to walk away with that championship several months ago at the Homestead of Miami Speedway. Rookies and new faces always seem to do well. That prophecy rings true at Daytona from last week. We'll see if it does carry into this 3.5 miler, or 3/4 of a mile here from the virtual Richmond Raceway. We've seen lots of history here. This is one of the several tracks in 4-wide history that has hosted a race in every single season of 4-wide action dating back to 2020. And in our last pair of races, we've seen two very interesting things take hold. Beef between drivers and brand new winners.
Frustrated, man. I was expecting Jaden to race a little cleaner than that. I didn't know he was going to run me over, so next time he won't get by so easy.
Is a bridesmaid no more. Checkered flag. Ethan Fonseca Moreno, winner at Richmond.
Looks like it started right here with the 36 and the 57. Ethan rolling the bottom, drifts up a little bit. Murray comes down.
I don't know, man. Somebody was making a burrito in the micro turn from 3 car lengths away, just trying to drive out of his mind and take people out. But, you know, that's what happens when you're a superstar driver and you're running 15th.
I was down there at the exit of the corner, but, you know, can't just chop somebody.
The focus on Brandon Hawken, who dominates tonight and is going to capture his second win of the season here at Richmond.
Oh, Francisco, that was a lot of fun. I mean, you and Keelan had called that race from last season, watching everything unfold between Ethan and Tyler. Tyler had his choice words. Ethan had his. They were both in defense of themselves. Tyler obviously frustrated. I'm not sure if we're going to see the same level of beef between a pair of drivers tonight. Hopefully that's not the case, but the last two races here have given us new beefs and then new winners. Maybe we could see that happen again.
Very possibly, Kenneth, because short track racing tends to bring that kind of energy. You get amped up, wired up, and you start taking it out on other drivers. It's not the most ideal thing to see out on the racetrack, but in NASCAR in general, we have seen some of the most iconic moments come from tough short track racing and drivers beefing with one another. So it's going to be what sells. So I think it was great. Keelan and I got to call that shot last season, and I can't wait to see what this race has in store for us.
It's going to be fun. Hopefully Moreno and Murray don't get into any other extracurricular activities on the racetrack. They both want to win, obviously, but hopefully they don't get too much in each other's way, and the same could be said for a bulk of the drivers in this field that, have had their run-ins each and every time with some other drivers, but usually they square it away. They squabble out the beef, and they usually get out of it, so we'll see. But Richmond is a short track known for using the chrome horn in certain situations. Sometimes it gets a little too physical, and things ultimately end up rising the tempers between some of the best names that we have in this 4-wide field. Well, let's take a moment in time to our KBueno moment in time. And of course, fittingly, it's going to be here at Richmond. Last season, we did not have a moment in time package for you. Tonight, we do. And we throw it back to 2021, in which there was some beef, but a controversial and very fun finish that stands forever in the network's history. Welcome to today's KBueno Moments in Time. Today we kick back to 2021 and a classic 4-wide racing ARCA race from Richmond. Pace car rolls off. It's Forster and Reedy to lead us to green for round 15 of the 4-wide racing ARCA series from Richmond. Typical of Richmond, there were lots of yellows, but the highlight focused on several current names strong, including Colin Forrester, Lance Hill, and Austin Reedy, who would spin on lap 10. The Stonks Motorsports duo of Forrester and Hill would give way for Eric Schaefer and Kyle Benson midway, who would spend the bulk of the race at the front despite some of the carnage. After a late yellow and many overtime restarts, Schaefer led the field to the white flag, and then Benson arrived, making contact in 3 and 4 and grabbing his second consecutive win of the season. While a controversial finish to some, this still stood as one of the best calls and best race ends in 4-wide ARCA history. And that's today's KBueno Moments in Time. Great moment in time from Richmond Raceway, and that was really early in Season 7, Keelan, to which we did not have moment in times become a regular part of our pre-race coverage, but now that we do, it's obviously fitting to go back into that moment. Not only was it the main 4-wide group that was racing there, it was a great finish between Kyle Benson and Eric Schaefer, but again, just a reminder from our last package before that the beef can always happen, and we can always have great finishes here as well, even under late race situations.
It's a shame that the beef Discord channel isn't what gets shown on the broadcast, because that thing can get pretty animated sometimes. And I think this could be a track that brings it out of these guys. We saw it last year, tempers flaring between Murray and Moreno, and I mean, it's a track that lends itself to that, because this is a track where when you're racing each other, you have to kind of, give the other guy not as much room if you want to make that pass on him, because if you give him too much room, he's just going to get right around you. So it leads to a lot of close quarter racing and a lot of guys bouncing off each other.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the chaos rings here at Richmond, or whether we see a very clean race like we did back in season number 6. Francisco, we're back at Richmond. This is one of the staple tracks in four-wide history at 0.75 miles. What is so interesting about this short track in Henrico County that brings the drivers a whole different challenge?
It is different than anything we've ever seen before in NASCAR, because we don't have a 3/4 mile D-shaped short track in the schedule at any time, anywhere. Probably the most resembling racetrack is Iowa, just a little bit larger and slightly different at that. But why not show everybody a lap around this Richmond Raceway to kind of have a nice idea of what it's like? And we could see drivers doing that exact same thing in qualifying. They try to arc the start of their lap that way to get some good speed down the front stretch, and it's going to be very tricky in the race to get the power off of turn 2. The car wants to spin, so you have to keep it under you, and you have to be careful. You might see drivers shift up into 5th, maybe stay in 5th, but a lot of the drivers will probably stay down in 4th, and be careful here off of turn 4. It gets pretty slick too.
It does, and we've seen that transition from the corners in 1 and 2 to the back straightaway. It really is staggering, and when you get there, the rear tires light up. Here's a good perspective of it. When you ride off of that bank, you get right to the straightaway. The rear end wants to wiggle out countless times at this track, whether it be the refresh that we're seeing this evening or even before in history. It's always been about planting the rear tires at the right moment when you get off of turn number 2, and even a bit of turn 4. When you get on that banking, it's a little easier to lean on, but for the most part, if you're loose, you're loose. You've got to fight the race car, and we've seen lots of cautions come because of those certain instances. And Keelan, it's really a matter of being able to be disciplined at tracks like these, and that's going to ring true for a lot of the other tracks that we see on the rest of the schedule as we take another look at it, because Nashville Superspeedway, a concrete track at 1.333 miles, that's not going to fare any easier. Neither is Indianapolis at a 2.5 mile rectangle that is very different from literally every other track we race. And then we're road course racing at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve up north in Montreal. So it's really just a huge curveball with tracks that have really never been put that high in the schedule before. Be there at a point. Is there anyone you see that could possibly master this segment of races and be able to either gain playoff spots or gain so much points in the making?
Well, when we look at tracks like Nashville, Richmond, Indianapolis, and road courses, I think a team that's going to shine is going to be KBueno Racing, and especially Nashville, where we saw the BBR guys finish like 1 through 4 last year or something like that. Steven Maggio came out on top in that race. And Indianapolis, they usually have pretty good speed with Francisco Bacallao. He raced Lawson Peel really hard at that track last year, and Montreal always lends themselves to some good road course racing with guys like Lawson Peel, Maggio. He's always up there, so a lot of these guys are going to be threats, but I really do like the BBR team in this little segment right here.
Francisco, any thoughts about who could shine in this first 5?
I would like to think that I'm going to be one of those drivers that'll be in contention to win some of these races. Those are 3 strong tracks for me, tracks that I feel confident in, and I hope I can win one of those races.
Well, hopefully. I mean, you're going to be taking part in some of those events. We saw you at Daytona last week. You put yourself on the front row. You led a bunch of laps, had a chance to win at the end. So potentially we could see our very well good friend Francisco Bacallao in the broadcast booth try and get a race victory for himself. Lots of promising prospects for racetracks that we have here in the late end of 2025 and bringing ourselves into the brand new year of 2026. Well, as we continue the 1,000 Islands Corette pre-race show, let's dive in with some of the drivers that will be taking the track tonight, and we will be joined by Season 4 winner of this race, AJ Green. And AJ, you've had your chance at victory here. You've done it once before in a next-gen car. What is it going to take to try and be that top dog again? I know it's a fast car in practice, but what will be that mindset heading into this one?
Well, qualifying good. I haven't had the best... I haven't been the best at qualifying in the past months. So doing good in qualifying, not overshooting the corner. The car is a little finicky. with if you stomp the brakes too hard, especially at the brake bias that I am running. Might not be the best if you stomp. And then just being smooth, staying out of trouble, and doing good in the pit stops.
One thing that's interesting about iRacing is that there's always a constant evolution, whether the car gets an update, which happened recently, whether the tracks get updates, and Richmond is one of those venues that did get updated recently, not with an entirely new rescan, but with a new change of look. Has it changed the handling of the race car at all, or does it feel the same as that red and white striped wall Richmond that we've seen in races past?
It feels like the track got smoother. They less bumps. Especially going into the corner. I know there's a patch there in one that got like repaved. So going into the corners is much smoother. So, I think that's going to be good for us. The car already feels loose, which is good. I really do not like tight cars. Hopefully it can stay loose on the long run and be good.
Well, AJ, we've seen this race come down to overtime before. You've been a part of those overtime finishes. Do you feel that we're going to see that same level of chaos tonight, or will it be just perhaps a long green flag stretch given all the updates with this car and how this track feels, like you said?
I think we're going to have green flag runs in the middle of the race. I think, if I had to guess, I think we're going to have quick cautions in the beginning. Things will get sorted out. We'll go green, and it may be a wreck fest at the end. Depending on where I'm at, I might want that to happen. But I think you'll see pretty much everything: green flag runs, quick cautions, and all that stuff.
Well, AJ, it's a fast car right now in practice. Hopefully it stays the same in qualifying and come race time. Best of luck when we drop the green flag later tonight.
Thank you.
That's AJ Green, Season 4 winner of this race. We have noted that no one has won more than one event here at Richmond in seasons past from 4-wide history. AJ is going to try to put that record book in his name again for the second time here at this 3/4 mile racetrack. Let's try and join another driver this time, a man on the same team but with a new number and a brand new identity. We're now joined by Adam Alashar. We'll see if we can bring him in for the moment. But Charlie Beyer, Adam Alashire, a member of the team that won the team championship last season. Hopefully the 10 car looking for a good route tonight from Richmond. All right, well, we'll talk to Adam Alashire. Adam, you got a copy with us? All right, looks like we do not have Adam Alashire, so we'll see if we can. There we go.
Sorry.
There we go. All right, Adam, you got a copy with us?
I do.
All right, Adam. Well, we just talked to AJ Green. He gave his thoughts about what we should expect for tonight's race from Richmond. What do you feel behind the wheel of the race car from your little moments in practice and how you feel you're going to translate it come race pace?
Definitely easy to overdrive this thing. You miss your mark by car length or two, and you're drifting up a lane or two. So it might be some wrecks going into the corners. I'm never really good on long pace. I've always tried to work on it, but hopefully I can figure it out and get it down by the time the end of the race comes and be up front.
I know last week had been just a little bit rough given all the chaos, and, that's something to expect when you come to a track like Daytona. And for you who has won there before, not entirely what you desired at the end, but how are you going to try to pivot yourself over the first several races of this season with this brand new number and a brand new paint scheme to try and get it back to victory lane?
Sorry, can I cut out there?
All good. I just about asked if you have any specific mindset to do well in these first several races, and how do you pivot off of Daytona to try and get yourself a playoff spot and put this car into victory lane?
It's always nice to do good at tracks like Daytona, but you kind of just have to forget about them because you get to the end of those races, you never know what's going to happen, and you just kind of bank on your speed the rest of the season, and if you don't do good at those tracks, just forget about it.
Well, Adam, it's a good-looking Ford Mustang that you had on track at Daytona. Good-looking car tonight, all the same, Adam. Best of luck at this green flag when we take it from Richmond tonight.
Thank you, Kenneth.
That's Adam Alashire, the Sunbury, Ohio native that ended up winning a race in Season 6, won at the World Center of Racing in Daytona, back when he was driving the 91 car for Stonks Motorsports. Went on to the not Stonks, but still kind of Stonks team in Season 7. They ended up putting an overall effort to win the team championship, riding on the back of Brandon Hawken, winning all those races and the championship at Homestead of Miami Speedway. We know Adam is quick. He can be sneaky fast at times, even when some of the drivers in the field may count him out. Alishire's got a good-looking car tonight, and right now 12th in practice as they're kind of ringing down the final 30-ish seconds. And Keelan, I'll talk to you because we've had some different storylines from Daytona to bring about. Obviously, the teamwork of KBueno Racing, how they were able to put their first step forward with their consistency and their strategy early on. It was all about surprises, but are there any teams you see that could very well take charge other than BBR here at Richmond?
I think Goat Inc. has all the momentum in the world right now coming off that Micah Walls win, and those are going to be guys that we're going to be looking at that have a good opportunity to get speed in their race cars as the season progresses. And also we have to look at Overcorrect Racing. We just talked to one of them, and Adam Alashire and AJ Green on that roster, Curtis Kelly on that roster. Those are going to be guys who have a lot of speed, but then we also have the teams that we have been used to seeing in this series, like DBR and KBueno Racing, Dark Horse Racing. There's a lot of good teams in this field. I mean, I don't think anybody is worse than the other, and I think everybody's going to have a shot at that team championship for sure this year. But as far as teamwork and how guys can work together and put together good races, take hold on like a team championship, I think it's going to be hard to beat those BBR guys just because they have strength in numbers. I mean, they have to split that roster into two separate team entities for team points. So it's just they have the big strength in numbers, and they're good friends with all the GOAT guys. So those guys are all going to work together really well. But it kind of splits the league into two, Kenneth. You have the BBR and GOAT Alliance, and then everybody else nearly, just because of that big strength in numbers and the snaggle hold they have on each other, and the top 10 for the most part a good bit of times.
Let's also not forget Dark Horse Racing with what they've been able to put together over the last season or so with Juan Escamilla, Nicholas Bauman, and Trevor Haley. Now they are also pretty good in relations with the KBueno Racing group, and chances are we may see them work together a little more this season. So perhaps as a conglomerate building behind Bacalhau and I's team, we may have to kind of wrinkle in that control just a little bit. But as we get down to the final moments leading up to the green flag from the virtual Richmond Raceway, we want to say thank you so much for joining us for the 1000 Islands Correct pre-race show. On the other side, myself, Francisco, Keelan, and Charlie will bring you all of the action from Richmond in just several moments. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go racing!
Welcome to the Thousand Islands Cruette in Clayton, New York. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come in for a tasting and our helpful and knowledgeable staff will help you find the perfect olive oils or vinegars to add that perfect touch to your next meal. We have monthly specials and sales as well as new pairings and recipes, so there's always something new to try when you visit. The Thousand Islands Cruette on James Street in Clayton. And don't forget, no touchy the tankies.
There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market, only at Sunoco.
Hey Francisco, what's up? Yo, what's up, Kenneth? How's it going, man? How are you? Good, how you been? What you got in the bag, man?
I got a panini, I have a hoagie, I got it all through the Wall Rewards app.
You can order it all through the app?
You can order it all through the app.
I can order it all through the app. The world is my oyster! By placing your order on the Wawa app, you can pick up at any time with ultimate satisfaction. Gotta have a Wawa.
York, that's my bonus. For my quota, boy, don't nobody home. I just get a check. In the jail with the set, all we do is rap. Ain't worried about next, yeah. I'm just making plays, Broadway in the flesh. On us, this right here with the on us. Too focused, all that change on focus. I am not no token, boy, don't nobody hold us.
Fresh off of a shocker at Daytona that saw a rookie capture the flag in his very first start. The field turns up north from Daytona Beach looking for the riches from the Virginia Commonwealth. It's the second race of Season 8 for the 4-Wide Racing TJ's Team Series, and it's the 8th all-time visit. Welcome to the virtual Richmond Raceway. And happy that you're joining us on the KBueno Racing Network tonight, where alongside Francisco Bacallao and Keelan Belsha in the booth, I am Kenneth Bueno. We'll be joined by our good friend and pit reporter Charlie Beyer later on in the show. Francisco, Daytona was unbelievable to say the very least. Probably still not a word to properly describe how that race went down on the white flag lap, with Michael Walls getting the win for GOAT Incorporated and winning in his very first try. But in our 8th all-time visit to Richmond, we've seen lots of surprises. Very well could see a different winner take control this evening at the 3/4 mile under the sun.
Richmond Raceway is going to have a lot of surprises for us here tonight in our second race of the season, number 8, Kenneth. But I think that just being here at the first proper event that's outside of the Daytona International Speedway, it's going to result in us seeing for the first proper time who's going to contend for this season's championship.
Keelan, we jump into this season with lots of expectations about how high the competition level is going to be, and Daytona really can just give you a slight sample size as to what we are expected to see for the late end of 2025 and later on next year until the finale at Auto Club Speedway. But this will be that proper first chance for a lot of drivers who maybe felt that their luck didn't really go their way and it ran it dry at Daytona last Wednesday. Tonight will be that proper chance to really control their destiny and fight for a playoff spot mano a mano.
Yeah, and these next several weeks is really just an opportunity to really put together some good runs, because there are a lot of tracks where you're not necessarily relying on other people to do the dirty work for you. It's all on you. So these next few weeks are really going to set the tone for who our championship favorites could be, and they got to remember that just one win can put them in the playoffs as we go into this season, and that's what Michael Walls took advantage of last week. Somebody new is going to be trying to do that tonight.
And you've got 5 different methods of racing to have you for the field in 2025. Of course, super speedway racing at Daytona, short track racing tonight from Richmond, intermediate racing at Nashville Super Speedway. Then we go back to the big track, the rectangle at Indianapolis in Speedway, Indiana. And then we go up to Canada for some road course racing for the first time ever in this series from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. So as we take down the final 2 minutes or so in qualifying, a lot of names that have come up across the board, but one name in particular is starting to take shape, and that is a driver in his very first start tonight, and a famous name across the iRacing sphere, Cosmin Ionescu. He's going to be in the race this evening, driving the number 20. He takes over for what used to be the 20 driver in Rodney Roberts, who raced that machine last year. But at this point, Francisco, it's going to be a new face right now on the pole, but a lot of other drivers, AJ Green, Kyle Benson, Adam Alashire, 2 of those drivers that we talked to during our The 1,000 Islands Correct pre-race show. They have a heavy chance at it. Some very strong drivers in this field.
And Cosmin, of course, is the designer of a lot of the KBueno Racing paint schemes, particularly those KBRN-sponsored race cars. So he's made a lot of paints that we've seen here in the past year or 2 years, really. So to see him finally show up to one of our events and hopefully run for the full schedule, he'll definitely be a strong contender to win multiple races throughout the schedule, as seen by his over 5,000 I rating. So hopefully Cosmin is able to put on a good performance here in his debut.
Very skilled driver he is. He races on the weekends as an FTF Cup Series driver, and if you don't know what the FTF Cup Series is, it's one of the longest tenured running iRacing leagues out there. They've been running for so many years, and they've built up a reputation to have Coke Series drivers in the field. Sometimes real-world drivers take shape with them on the racing track, and Kosmin is a big part of that alongside iRacing staff writer, very great guy, Justin Malillo. A lot of them help that FTF brand continue to run today, and our good friend Brandon Hawkins, Season 7 champion of this series, also runs regularly in the FTF Cup Series alongside Lawson Peel and even names like Gabriel Dahari. So it really seems like as we talk about the level of competition rising in this series over the last several years, you're seeing names from higher profile leagues that have a lot of competition around them taking part in this 4-wide series every single Wednesday, and I think that's what makes things really, really exciting. Well, as drivers take behind the iRacing official pace car for the first time tonight from Richmond, let's bring you this starting grid and the drivers that will be taking part, mostly over 40 of them that will take the green flag tonight from virtual Richmond, Virginia. We're on the pole. It is the driver of the 20 in his very first 4-wide start. Kosmin Ionescu in the number 20. The 20.996 lap is good enough to get his Toyota Camry on the front row and first to the green flag alongside Murray Reedy Motorsports' Kyle Benson, the Williamsport, Pennsylvania native, will be on the outside in second place. Gabriel Dahari, who won at Iowa last season, similarly styled track, and just as abrasive, he'll be running inside in third. Mikey Neal, the Wake Forest North Carolinian, going to be on the outside in his number 8 machine from P4. Back in the row of 3, Lawson Peel in the 5th place position from the 12 car. Inside, he won his first career 4-wide race here at Richmond. And Jonathan Jurgensmeyer running the blue deuce, now the red deuce. From Daytona to Richmond, he brings his Ford Mustang to 6th on the starting grid. Back in row number 4, pair of drivers that have found some success here at Richmond. Ethan Fonseca Moreno won this race back in Season 6. He'll roll from 7th. And Eric Schaefer, driving his number 3 car, the Hampton, Virginia native, rolls off on the outside in 8th place. To finalize the final row inside the top 10, you've got Murray Reedy Motorsports' Austin Reedy from 9th, and Nicholas Bauman in his Dark Horse Racing number 88, Francisco, lines up the top 10.
League owner Tyler Murray will be rolling off from the 11th place position alongside his teammate Craig Loutenslonger in the 13. Juan Escamilla, who's contending for that win late at Daytona, is rolling off in 13th with another Murray Reedy Motorsports driver of Tristan Bailey in 14th. 15th goes to Brandon Banks in his number 5 machine, with Curtis Kelly starting a little bit deeper in the field tonight from 16th. Kip Beasley makes his return to the series. He'll be rolling off from 17th, with 18th going ahead to AJ Green, a previous winner here from Richmond Raceway. Jesse Preece and Trevor Haley looking to get his first career win, roll off the top 20.
Back in the 21st position, we have Duncan Fall. Alongside him is Dusty Applin in the 16 car. In the 12th row, we have Alexander Schumacher in the 68 with Jaden Porter in the 28 to his outside in 24th. Back in row 13, Michael Walls, last week's winner in the 60, starting deep tonight with Adam Allenfire in a 10 car. Alongside him in the 14th row, we have Christopher Bishop in the 42, and alongside him, Lance Hill in the 1. Rounding out the top 30, we have Randall Payne in the 46 and Randy Showers making his debut in the 22.
Back in row 16, it's a deep start for Steven Maggio, who made the Championship 5 last season. Daniel Moore in his number 77 car rolls off in 32nd place. Back in 33rd is where you'll find the 53 of Kevin D'Elia alongside the Bucky's number 49 machine, the in-and-out car as well. Jason Hastings in the 34th spot. Brandon Gillis in the 9 car rolls off from 35th. Timothy Cook in the 19, 36. J.J. Hill for Dirty South Racing back in 37. Tony Kibbett, the first driver not to put a time down in queue. He'll be back in 38th place. Michael Newbraw and Chris Fowler bring the inside and outside of the 20th row on the field. And our final row of the night, 42 cars long we've got from Richmond. Craig Parks inside in 41st, and CJ Munier, the Verona, New Jersey native, going to be outside in 42nd place. So, Keelan, under our pace laps here from Richmond, Virginia, what are the keys to victory at our first short track race of the year?
Well, you really got to hit your marks tonight, Kenneth. This is a track where you can't go in too deep, can't go in too short. For most success, you got to hit the marks, keep it off the wall, because this car will float up off these corners and it'll get really free. So it's all about managing that. Utilize your brake bias. That is something that these guys are going to have to be dealing with all night long. And this race is wide open, so no Brandon Hawken looking to dominate tonight. Who knows who could get it done? And for more on tonight's race from Richmond, we have our pit reporter, Charlie Byer, downstairs.
And good evening from Virginia, and happy birthday to Juan Escamilla, guys. Race number 2. It's great to be back on the box, and I'm ready to get things going from the Old Dominion, one of the most historic race venues in the country. We're about to head green here, so I'll go over strategy real quick. 170 laps and 1, maybe 2 pit stops. That's predicated by about 90 laps on a single tank, but I wouldn't doubt that we get a few yellow flag laps given how ruthless these walls can be and how much of a physical side this track brings out to this driver. Back to you, Kenneth.
Thank you so much, Charlie. We'll be tossing in with Charlie over the course of this race from the details on pit road. But for right now, Kozman Ionescu and Kyle Benson lead us to the green flag for the first time in Season 8 from Richmond.
We got a spinner in the back. It looks like it is Austin Reedy that went sideways off of turn number 2. No caution, though.
And it was sideways off the second corner, slapped the inside wall. There was smoke already, and there's the damage and even more trouble right in front and possibly a car through the grass. There is one at the back, and so far they will be able to keep things green in the run-up back to turn 1. So far, Ionescu, the race leader, Dahari right behind as he took away second.
This is a track that Dahari has had success in, this track style, I should say. We go back to Iowa last year, where he won in his debut race. Richmond, very similar in some aspects. It's a little less wide as we see the replay of what happened to Austin Reedy back there. But Dahari, he has skill on these little short tracks, these little 3/4 of a mile short tracks. He's going to have something for Kozman here. But Kyle Benson, don't look now. He's already got up to his back bumper, these top 3, under a blanket here early, Kenneth.
And that's a driver that in our KBueno moment in time snagged the victory in the 4Wide Racing ARCA series here from Richmond, and a driver that knows a thing or two about being fast at this short track. And even when we talked to Tyler Murray before we went live here on the KBueno Racing Network, he told us the same sentiment that AJ Green told us, that this track is just a little bit easier to drive with all of that new pavement. Caution flag comes out for the first time tonight, and it's a spinner, Randy Showers, at the entry of turn 3. In his brand new number 22 Ford Mustang, he takes the number place of Logan Gill, who started the first race of the season from Daytona. Gill has elected not to run the rest of 4Wide Season 8. So Randy Showers in his place. Lance Hill and Daniel Moore, I believe, may have also been involved in the incident. Not sure if this was independent or whether this actually happened all in one scenario, but I believe as we take a look at the replay, Francisco, it all started. Adam Alshire bumps loose. Showers gets off of Lance Hill and JJ Hill, and then Daniel Moore may have just had trouble over it because he had gotten around the spinning Showers and ends up in trouble as well.
Yeah, the number 10 car had trouble in turn 2 trying to put the power down right behind Christopher Bishop, and from his position he was a little bit blinded, so he was just trying to feel it out as best as he could, and the car stepped out from under him, and unfortunately it overcorrected back in front of the 22, and there you see the 22 having to take avoiding action, hits the 1, hits the 21, and then the 21 and 1 spin later in turn 3, the worst of it clearly going to the number 1 of Lance Hill.
And then Daniel Moore just trying to get out of it from the apron. Car stepped out loose, slid up the banking, and fortunately didn't hit any part of the wall on the outside or inside of the racetrack, but nonetheless it is a pretty sizable hit for JJ Hill and a bunch of the other drivers on the inside of the racetrack. So it went all the way down from the back straightaway to the exit of turn 4. That shows you just how chaotic that wreck was. It had gone nearly the entire lap there for a moment. And Randy Showers in his first ever 4-wide start will have a bit more to pick up off of, hopefully, in the rest of this race as Lance Hill tries to escape being put a lap down. But as of the moment, he will be able to get around the pace car for the moment. We'll keep an eye on it for now. It looks like he will fall a lap down as Kozman continues to lead. Down to pit road and to Charlie Beyer for the first time.
And a lot of contact in the opening laps of this race. A lot of drivers coming down pit road to get their damage repaired, but the only driver that's staying down there is that number 77 of Daniel Moore, making contact with the pit attenuator. He looks to be towed his car, and he's going to be in for some lengthy repairs.
Daniel Moore obviously involved in that trouble. Thank you, Charlie. Hopefully he'll be able to repair his Ford Mustang and be back out on track. The biggest problem is that he's several laps down. He's coming about on 5 laps down on the racetrack. Remember, we had 42 cars start this race. It is a sizable field, and even if you have 42 cars across the speedway, you can kind of go a little bit of a distance before you start seeing the tail end of the main pack. And for Moore, that little bit of trouble is going to set him back a little while. Hopefully the yellow flags can put him back in lucky dog contention, and he can be back on the running order with the rest of the leaders. Talk about Daytona last week, how many recovery drives there were, from Francisco nearly going a lap down after a tussle in turn 4, to Gabriel Dahari, spinning on pit road and getting penalized. He got put a lap down and recovered in that race to end up with a chance to win. So all eyes on the front of the field as we'll get a look at our restart here. Ioneshu with a great jump off of turn 4, went relatively early, and already the battle for second building into turn 1, but negated at the door as Kyle Benson, Dahari runs second as they're side by side behind him for 4th.
And very important to point out, Kenneth, to our viewers that might not be too aware of the exact ruling, is that you can go, the leader can start the race once again anytime the pace car exits the racing surface. You don't have to wait until the restart zone. The only track where that is required is Phoenix Raceway.
That's true. And Phoenix has that long straightaway to which it's really a long wait until you get to that restart zone and have to mash back on the gas pedal. But Richmond is so unique in the fact that the start-finish line is just a little bit out. It's not entirely center to this front straightaway. It is a bit offside, so you got to look at it closer to turn 4 than it really is to turn 1. It's much more of a distance, and so that restart zone has to be a little farther out to give drivers enough of a chance to get back on the gas pedal. It works in the favor of Ioneshu. And on the inside for 3rd place, Moreno trying to peek underneath Kyle Benson. He had gained a couple spots off of the restart. The Season 6 winner here from Richmond Raceway trying to get back to the front.
Trying to become the first repeat winner at this venue in the TJ's Team Series, Kenneth. We have yet to have one of those in all the trips we've taken here. Everybody's just getting one win apiece. We've yet to have that repeat winner. Moreno looking to be the first one, but Kyle Benson going to give him a fight on the outside right here, and that's just what makes this place such a driver's track and so difficult to pass. It's because, look at Benson, he's not going to give Moreno much room at all. He is going to kind of pinch him down, not give Moreno that exit, and that's giving him momentum down these straightaways to stay in front of Moreno. So one of these tracks where you can easily get stuck battling a car for upwards of 10, 15 laps just for one position.
There's our Charlie Byer photography onboard camera with Moreno. Caution flag flies again for the 2nd time tonight, and it's, again, problems near the rear of the field. And it's Brandon Gillis on the outside of the back straightaway. There are the leaders coming by, and the Square Enix Ford Mustang is facing troubles already early on. There is a gold-painted stripe on the front end of the Ford Mustang. We'll talk about the details of that and what Murray Reedy Motorsports are repping tonight as we jump into the month of September. But nonetheless, Gillis finds himself spinning at the exit of turn 2 to the back straightaway. So potentially a similar situation to what we saw to bring out the first yellow of the race. And something had really happened here, Francisco. It was trouble all the way a lap before. So it's Adam Alishire loose off turn 2. Brandon Gillis tries to go around. I think he may have missed the entry of the corner, makes contact with Alishire, and everything breaks loose from there on out.
Yeah, that lasted a while because you see they're still hitting one another. And then no caution comes out because nobody really spun or stopped on the racetrack. So we get over here to turns 1 and 2. And you're going to see the 9 car go for a spin. And it looks like he had help from Alishire, but I don't think that was Alishire retaliating. I think that was just actually happened to be right at the corner exit. Pretty bad timing.
So this is where they're coming off of into turn 1. They're just getting their bearings together. Everyone had slowed down to avoid a potential crash, but it's right up here where Alishire gains that momentum. And yeah, you're right, Francisco. Not necessarily intent at all from the Ohio native. It's just the fact that Gillis had woed up so much at the exit of turn 2 that it really just allowed that 10 car to get right to the inside with all that momentum. And then he doesn't realize Gillis is going so slow until he's there, making contact proverbially. So then it spins the 9 car around. And for the 2nd time tonight, we bring ourselves on mercy of the iRacing official pace car. There is Lance Hill finally getting his lap back after being put a lap down off of pit road from the first yellow in this race. And lots of cars at the back already taking that damage repair. But Keelan, as we kind of dive into this, not entirely surprising that we see some of these early yellows come out. And not entirely surprising either that it's happening off of turn 2. We mentioned on that onboard lap how dangerous that banking could be in that transition from right where the leaders are coming off of down the back straightaway. It's a sharp distance, and it's one that really catches you off guard. And even after all these years, some drivers still cannot get a hold of it.
Yeah, we saw it in your KBRN onboard lap here when the 1000 Islands Corvette pre-race show, that this track, it just catches you so off guard. I tried to mention it in my keys a little bit earlier, got a little bit rough, but this is a good time to mention it. These turn 2, turn 4, they are so different from each other, and keep it off the wall. That is going to be important. And off of turn 2, that banking and how it shifts down right there going onto the back stretch, and where that wall jets out, it's so different from the other end of the racetrack. You have to drive the corners so much differently. Turn 4, you can carry a little bit of momentum, but you get too hard on the gas, you are spinning that race car around. And if you're, there's another case where you're plowing tight and you smack the wall out there. So it's just a really hard track to manage. And I know it's a lot smaller than Nashville, but the way it's kind of driven, it kind of reminds me of Nashville, the way you have to wrap that bottom and get it as close to the wall and corner exit as you can.
All the leaders haven't found that problem, and once again we are doubled up for the restart. Dahari on top. Yonishu down low, green flag waves, and it's a great start from the leader in Yonishu. And down low, Kyle Benson again the challenge for second place. He didn't make it happen on the last restart. He'll poke his nose to the inside of 1 and 2. Keep his Dude Wipes Ford Mustang planted down the back straightaway. Entering turn 3, there's the Quaker State Chevrolet of Moreno, and the Bass Pro Shops Tracker Boats Chevrolet of Eric Schaefer right behind him.
And you see right there the battles inside the top 5 this time. Benson on the inside of the 92, but Moreno, if he angles this right, he'll get a big run down the back straightaway. And you see Benson trying to put the power down, gets the back end loose, the 92 with the nose out in front. And this gives you great view here. Moreno once again loading up that outside lane, and he'll take P3 away.
And you saw there that big apex move from the nearly orange, red, and black Chevrolet of Eric Schaefer, darted from the high side, but because of all that momentum he was carrying at the exit of turn 4, couldn't really bring it all around to rotate the car, nearly caught the outside wall, and so had to back up. And so the battle for third place is going to single out Moreno back in front of that group to take point inside the podium. And as we had our second yellow of the race, Charlie Byer, more troubles and more interesting storylines on pit road.
Not a whole lot to report after that last yellow. Just an update on some of the cars that got caught up in earlier crashes. Lance Hill was able to get his lap back after being involved in the first yellow flag. And the next lap car down is Brandon Gillis. He's back on the racetrack. And Daniel Moore, just an update on him. He's disconnected from the session. That'll bookend his Richmond race tonight.
That's tough as caution flag comes out again. And Jesse Prees in the middle of the back straightaway. Sideways, the car doesn't have much damage. There was Jason Hastings and company trying to get around. And once again, it is the back end of the field that's creating some of the troubles. And this time it catches another driver, this time the Wabash, Indiana driver of Jesse Prees, a part of that Drinkin' Bros Racing camp. Take a look at how this all unfolded, and it was trouble in front of him. Francisco, yep, the spinning car, and it was Jason Hastings, and Jesse Prees, in the attempt to just swivel around, ended up sideways on his own accord, and the car goes around and thankfully doesn't hit any walls. But it's just one of those things where turn 2 will catch the field off guard. You try and go out of the way at full speed in this next-gen car, and it's going to turn around on you very quickly.
And Hastings had help there, Kenneth. He was racing the 8 of Mikey Neal and kind of came down onto the front bumper of the 8 car and sent the 49 spinning in turn 2. And Prees trying to do the best he can to avoid it, but unfortunately got in it.
There's a tough situation there, but a rather harmless yellow flag coming out here at lap 24. So as we wait behind the iRacing official pace car, another chance squandered for some of those guys in Eric Schaefer, Lawson Peel, and even further back in Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. They have been darting to make moves under green, but they just haven't had as much time to make their way through the group out in front. Well, let's try and interview one of the drivers now stepping into the top 3 after gaining some spots on the latest restarts. We're now joined by Season 6 winner of this race, Ethan Fonseca Moreno. Ethan, it's got a good-looking car to it. Quaker State on the Chevrolet tonight. You've got a fast one this evening. What's it going to take to get back to victory lane here in Virginia?
Shoot. I don't know. I mean, these two up here are pretty fast, so just going to have to... I mean, it's pretty early, so I just kind of, I don't know, find a way around these guys. And I don't know, maybe we'll look into some strategy here to somehow race the lead or try to get the lead without having the racing straight up. But yeah, looking pretty quick tonight, so just hoping for a solid finish.
It's been very fast. We've also noted some of the differences from the last time we were here at Richmond versus what this track looks like now after the refresh. Any significant updates that you've noted behind the wheel of the car, especially under race pace, and how different it's felt from Richmond races before?
I know it feels a bit tighter than it has been before, so loose in a very short run, but yeah, it does feel a little bit strange, but just kind of taking what I know from the last time I raced here and using it here. Just learning right now as the race goes on as well.
Well, it's been a good run for you so far. Hopefully this race spans out into green flag racing to which you can use all of the horsepower in that 92 car. Best of luck on the restart.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So that's Ethan Fonseca Moreno, led 56 laps in the Season 6 edition of this race. And we mentioned in the 1,000 Islands Correct pre-race show how Moreno had been involved in a little scuffle or two involving our league owner, Tyler Murray. That happened right here in 3 and 4 last time we visited this track. Once again, a blistering restart from Yoneshu gets him out in front. Dahari right behind. Moreno taking the inside, darting under Dahari. The two teammates going at it in one. Great rotation down the bottom alley, and Moreno will have a chance to take away second down to turn 3, Keelan.
There goes Moreno, trying for that second position under Dahari right here in that number 92 car. He's had speed here in the past. Remember, Season 6 winner here last year. Didn't quite go his way. He never really could crack into the top 10 after that run-in with Tyler Murray, but now trying to take that second position away. You know, last year may have been a bit of a championship hangover, but he's back making a run for that championship this year. I think that Talladega win really bolstered some confidence.
Whoa, sideways car at the exit of turn 4. Might have been Jonathan Jurgensmeyer as they were coming off the corner. Never mind, Juan Escamilla, I believe, might have been the car. We'll take another look at it, but there was a sliding machine at the exit of turns 3 and 4, and that indeed will wave out the yellow flag once again at lap number 29. So we'll keep an eye on who exactly it might have been, but I believe it was up there at the front. As here's a look from Randall Payne. It's Trevor Haley that gets turned around at first from the nose of Kevin D'Elia, and there was another car that had been saving it. It was indeed the 87 of Juan Escamilla, who's celebrating his 23rd birthday tonight. And unfortunately, not the cake and candles that he was hoping for at the exit of the corner. There, Francisco, just a slight touch, and his teammate Trevor Haley gets involved in the mess as well.
By the way, I would just like to say I am only now realizing that I am 8 days to the year older than Juan Escamilla. So happy birthday, Juan. Here, our fellow Virgo. And there you see the incident further back. Hard hits the outside wall for the car that got into the back of Haley. And Juan, fortunately, though, was able to save that race car, and he'll have something to contend with, as there's the 08, who appears to have been the car in contact with Duncan Fall. So a lot of trouble early, Kenneth. We saw this in last season's race. We saw a lot of caution flags through most of the portions of the race, specifically the beginning, and even in the end, closer to the middle, we saw more green flag runs. I'm wondering if at any point we could break off into about a 20 or 30 lap run, much like we did in season 7, since a lot of these guys seem to be getting out a lot of that built up temptations.
Well, hopefully we'd be able to, and there's a look at the damage assessment to Trevor Haley. Lots of dents on the back bumper of his car. That rear spoiler nearly dented as well. It's mostly the bumper that's affected, but he will take himself back out again, trying to make sure, Keelan, that you do not fall a lap down, which is exactly what happened to the one car of Lance Hill. Because this track is at 3/4 of a mile, I mean, you go down pit road, you're getting your damage repaired depending on how bad it is, and then blink of an eye, the pace car is already around trying to lap you if you stay on pit road. So it's one of those venues where it is so difficult, if you find trouble, to be able to have that pit crew repair that car in a good amount of time without falling down a lap or more to the race leaders. And so if you're seeing a lot of those damaged cars stay out with damage, it's not because they can't fix it, it's because they just don't have enough time.
And this is one of those tracks where the damage you receive isn't terminal. I mean, there's a lot of different racetracks where you get bad damage, you're pretty much screwed for the rest of the day. But here at a short tracks, it's not entirely as aero dependent as somewhere else we would go. You can get some of that damage and still be somewhat competitive. So I think it's a curse that you can't get it fixed, but it's a blessing that you're not entirely too tore up. But this 20 car, he's been on rails early, has led every lap so far, reminiscent of Hawken last year, where I don't even think he had to make a pit stop with all the yellows we had.
It's definitely helped that all these yellows have come out at the right time, and Yoneshu with great restarts off and on will get the 1 to green signal this time by from the iRacing official pace car. It's been a matter of just maintaining that dominance on the restart. No one has really been able to predict when he's going to go, so no one's been able to step alongside Yoneshu when he gets into turn 1. He's just been in his own zip code, and by the time he stays in front, yellow flag flies, and it just resets the field, and he's just in that rhythm of getting a good restart, staying out until the yellow flies, and then just being right where he is. But he may have his first proper challenge on his hands in the Season 6 champion of Ethan Fonseca Moreno, who now steps out on the outside of row number 1 after taking away second from his teammate Gabriel Dahari. So the Quaker State Chevy will have a chance to push up and forward and try to get the lead for the first time at lap number 34 and beyond. A little surreal that Moreno is right alongside Yoneshu, given how many paints Moreno has requested from him over the last several years. Green flag waves again from Richmond, Virginia, and once again out in front by more than 3 car lengths, the 20 machine. Moreno now facing the fire from Dahari down the inside. Eric Schaefer has moved into the top 5, nicely into 4th, and right behind is where Benson and Jonathan Jurgensmeyer do battle in turn 4.
Yeah, Benson on the previous restart prior to this one, as you see Dahari get loose underneath the 92. Benson had struggled getting up through the gears and missed a shift, and that forced Lawson Peel to get into the back of the 38 as the yellow flag waves. Looks like trouble further in the back for Kip Easley and the number 18. It appears as though there's a big pile up off of turn 2 with the 42 of Bishop sideways.
And more cars in trouble. There's the Rule King Ford Mustang of Bishop out sideways. Kip Easley in his first return to the series since season 7 with a brand new number 18. Not entirely a big fan of that Keelan is, but nonetheless, there's Bishop involved. He was one of our drivers to talk to us on the KBRN post-race show. Had a great conversation with him and Kyle Benson last night about a bunch of things, whether it was regards to 4-wide racing, whether it was regards to their relationship off the track, and Bishop in that gold and black Ford Mustang involved in our most recent spill to bring us under the pace car once more at lap number 36. So we'll get a better look at how this all unfolded. And once more, Keelan, it's the trouble spot. Turn 2 has had a big X on it saying do not trespass. And as soon as the drivers get in there, it is deep waters and deep trouble. Here's a look, aerial shot. Kip easily gets turned around by the 53 of D'Elia. And then in reaction, it's once again Adam Alishire in the crossfire.
It's just barely getting into Bishop as Bishop was checking up. And when you're tucked in behind somebody like that and you see something happening in front of you, it's hard to predict when that guy in front of you is going to check up. So I don't think he tried to run him over by any means. But the product of this track being so small and everybody on top of each other, it's hard to stay off that guy in front of you. And unfortunately for Bishop, that puts him in early peril here in that 42 car as the 20 car continues to lead. Kyle Benson has slipped back to the 5th position. Good-looking race cars that Murray Reed Motorsports team has, though, Kenneth.
Yeah, it really has been great to see them. And so far, they've done really well tonight. We'll just keep an eye on how things unfold. We also want to update that Lawson Peel has come down pit road. So on that little instance there where you saw the wide angle of the accident off of turn 2, you did see that red, green, and blue Exalta Chevrolet in the mix. That's because Peel had pitted. And remember, he had won his first ever career 4-wide race here at this Richmond Raceway. He pitted just about 8 laps ago. And for some others that pitted, a lot of them have come in for damage repair. But really, Francisco, this is the first time that one of the lead drivers has taken his hand down pit road, hoping to stay out when everyone else comes in.
Yeah, that's the goal for him. I mean, I think if cautions continue to come out at this rate, I think the entire field can get to the end of the race without ever having to make a trip down pit road, largely thanks to the fact that the race is 30 laps shorter. So we'll just have to see if that becomes the case as we take the 1 to green. Lawson, though, he gets himself into a better position if we get enough runs, because he can just stretch it up to 130 laps. The window's normally close to 90. But with the amount of caution laps they've ran in these first 40 laps, they could probably still do an additional 70 on top of the laps they've ran. So do that kind of math, and you can see how Lawson could get to the end of the race if they keep wrecking.
Well, hopefully he's able to save enough fuel. We'll keep an eye on everyone at the back, but for the moment, all of these drivers at the front have been basically where they are. Maybe some gains, maybe some losses, but for the most part, everyone has been planted, especially your race leader, Kosmin Ionescu, who's going to be leading the field outside of turn 4 again. And once more, it's just the bread and butter for this 20 car. Early jump at the exit of turn 4, back to the green flag, hip checking for a second as they enter turn 1. Dahari and Moreno fighting for the second spot.
And Moreno once again getting the run off the outside. He'll clear Dahari back to turn 3. And you see Schaefer now pulling up to the back of the 72 machine, almost getting into the back of Dahari, but Dahari unable to keep the power down underneath Moreno as we ride on board as the yellow flag waves once again. Trouble once again for Austin Reedy, and Michael Wall's involved.
And Michael Wall's a Daytona winner in it. This is again at the back of the field. And for Austin Reedy, who had been a part of that first yellow of the race, Christopher Bishop was also taking part. So 2 of the Murray Motorsports Ford Mustangs are in it. And it's been a rough night for them so far, as we'll take a look at how this all happened outside of turns 3 and 4. So they're just about 3 and 4 wide, obviously usual. And then Adam Mandelshire gets touched by Bishop, and Reedy in reaction hits the outside wall and comes right up, sending Bishop into the wall alongside him. And again, it's just a tough situation for all those drivers to deal with. So little space here at Richmond, and now they've got to find a way to come down pit road and be in a sense of repair, trying to get their cars back out onto the racetrack 42 laps in. Well, we continue this caution-filled race from Richmond, Virginia, and no one has been able to stop Gosman Yoneshu right now. He's led every single lap from 1 to 42 and counting. Stay with us on the KBueno Racing Network as we'll take one break before we get right back to green flag action. You're tuned in to the 4-Wide Racing TJ's Team Series from Richmond, Virginia.
Let's go racing!
Welcome to the Thousand Islands Cruette in Clayton, New York. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come in for a tasting and our helpful and knowledgeable staff will help you find the perfect olive oils or vinegars to add that perfect touch to your next meal. We have monthly specials and sales, as well as new pairings and recipes, so there's always something new to try when you visit. The Thousand Islands Cruette on James Street in Clayton. And don't forget, hey, no touchy the tankies.
There's only one fuel that can drive the performance you demand from your car. New 94 Octane, the highest octane on the market, only at Sunoco.
Hey, Francisco, what's up? Yo, what's up, Kenneth? How you doing, man? How are you? Good, how you been? What you got in the bag, man?
I got a panini, I have a hoagie, I got it all through the Wall Rewards app.
You can order it all through the app?
You can order it all through the app.
I can order it all through the app. The world is my oyster! By placing your order on the Wawa app, you can pick up at any time with ultimate satisfaction. Gotta have a Wawa. And back live from the virtual Richmond Raceway as we have ticked down lap number 45 of 170 in our second race of the Season 8 4-Wide Racing TJ's Team Series. Thank you so much for joining us. Kenneth Bueno alongside Francisco Bacalhau, Keelan Belsha, and our pit road reporter, Charlie Beyer. We are ready for another restart, and so far, the man in domination, Gosman Yoneshu, has been leading it so far. He leads him off of turn 4 to the restart and to the green flag.
And a much better jump for Dahari this time compared to Moreno. Cleared him well before turn 1, but the yellow flag waves once again.
More trouble at the back. It's been rough for everybody to get into a full swing of things. We'll keep an eye on where the trouble was, but as the field is coming out nearly 3 and 4 wide, potentially a car just went sideways and we had something go down wrong at the back end of the field. There's Michael Walls just rejoining, the driver who won at Daytona last week, unfortunately ends up in trouble, and we'll just keep an eye on how this all unfolded outside of turn 2. So this is coming to the restart here. It's Michael Walls, Dusty Applin at the very back end of this field, and I'm not sure whether they are the official calls, but we didn't see any cars fully spin out. Oh, well, not until there. So it's outside turn 4 where Walls goes sideways, and I think, Keelan Belsha, that's basically enough for the iRacing race control to say, hey, that's a yellow flag. There's a car spinning on the racetrack. We've got to throw it, and so they do right before we even complete one lap off of the green flag start.
Yeah, just locked it down in the racing line there, and that's going to be enough to trigger in iRacing yellow. And Gabriel Dahari, I believe, did he make a trip down pit road right there, Kenneth, as he has surrendered the second position? Yeah, I believe the 72 has hit pit road for the first time tonight. He was running in the second position there.
When he's called it quits, Gabriel Dahari's out of the race. I think he's had enough of these yellow flags, you guys.
That's tough. He was running inside the top 3, like we mentioned, basically all race long. And the 72 machine, who picked up his first career 4-wide racing victory in his first start at Iowa. So he joins Michael Walls basically in that group of guys who have just won one race and have been able to win. Looks like Tahari says, yeah, no more of me in this one. So he will give up second. Now it will be between Yoneshu, Moreno, Benson, Schaefer, and Murray inside this current running top 5. And there are special colors on the Murray Motorsports Ford Mustangs tonight. That is for a reason. September is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, and so with TJ's team being the official sponsor of 4 Wide Racing and has been our title sponsor for the last season or so, of course they are going to acknowledge a Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month as TJ's team tries to help fight pediatric cancer and save kids all around the world. So this typical gold running here in September, that is what this Murray Motorsports team will be decked out with all season long. We saw this from Murray last season and plenty of the other drivers on his team, so they're doing their best to acknowledge the foundation and acknowledge pediatric cancer awareness as we are in the month of September. So Murray now in a race high 5th, given all the chaos and now with the disconnection from Gabriel Tahari. And once again, as the lights come off from the iRacing official pace car, we are ready for another restart. Hopefully we're able to step into a green flag run. I don't think we've had a long run, more than maybe 5 to 6 laps. We've gone a little bit and potentially some good racing along the way, but for the most part, we have not gone long enough to where the tires wear out so much, and we have a lot of pit road strategy apart from that one pit stop from Lawson Peel. His red and black Exalta Chevrolet still beneath the top 20. He runs 21st when we get back to this restart at lap number 51. So it's Yoneshu and Moreno on the front row trying to stack it up. Moreno's trying to anticipate the jump from the 20 car, and he can't quite do it. Green flag raises. Kyle Benson to the inside for second.
I'll give him credit, Kenneth, because that's still one of the better starts that anybody's gotten on the leader. And look at that run he has.
And he's there on the outside for the race lead for the first time. New lead change from Richmond, and it's the Quaker State Chevrolet, but not with a fight down the inside. Yoneshu will slip out of line at the exit of turn 4. Can he save it? I believe he does, but for the first time, and now there's trouble behind. Nicholas Bauman, Curtis Kelly, Steven Maggio, Randall Payne will bring out the yellow flag at lap 52, and it all begun from the one slip-up, a rare one, by the former race leader.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like he might have slightly, and I mean slightly, neck-coated Curtis Kelly as he was rejoining. So, unfortunately for the 20, he fell. So came to the pressure of Ethan Fonseca Moreno battling for that race lead, and inadvertently then caused the later wreck. So here's the restart, which I thought Ethan had a great job of getting, and then he ran a fantastic line. He threw 1 and 2, just ran extremely high, and then just arced it down and got a huge run. He had to leave the space for the 92, and as Kozmi was trying to work the bottom for the first time with pressure, he's just trying to put the power down and steps out under him. He was not expecting it. And then right here, watch, as he tries to rejoin to the racing line, neck codes the 71 right there, and even more neck code with the 88 and 51. So just a big problem there.
There's all that damage to the 88 car, and obviously the 51 of Steven Maggio won several races last season en route to his Championship 5 appearance, and of course the drivers behind also getting a lot of that damage into turn 1. So another tough scenario, but it's our first lead change of the night, and it comes in a physical way. Moreno has the great run off the back straightaway, uses the space. Kosman gave him enough space to be like, let's go, let's do this battle. I'm not going to shut you out here outside of turn 2. And it's just that slight mistake off of turn 4, the one and only mistake we've seen from Yoneshu all night long. And with that, I believe he's going to try and come down pit road. So with all of the talk of Lawson Peel and company taking their first-handed strategy, it looks like Yoneshu is going to do that right now, lap number 54.
I mean, why not? After losing the track position that he desperately held for what was the first 45, 50 high laps. So you lose the track position, may as well bring it down pit road. At this point, you lost the most crucial battle you had. So now we'll see what the 20 car is able to do to try to recover from this. I think, like I mentioned earlier, if these cautions continue to come out at this rate, it's a very realistic chance that they can make it to the end on fuel just by staying out.
That's kind of what happened with Brandon Hawken last season, where it's basically one stop, but with all those yellows, he was able to stay out right where he was and be able to keep that level of consistency and track position to be out there at the front when it really mattered most. And Keelan, I think you had to restart your PC there. We had to hear some of the startup from your computer as you're getting back into line. Heard there was a power surge, but you're back in, so welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back. It was only my room. I heard my mom's TV was just going on fine. I don't know what happened in my room, but the Wi-Fi router was out for like 5 minutes, so I had to restart it. But we're fired back up. We're back. I'm sorry that you guys had to hear my Windows startup, but I did, you know.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't complain. It's one of the best Windows startup sounds of all time. So it brings back a lot of memories for me. And under the yellows that we've seen so far tonight, probably fair for us to have a little bit of fun as well. But we're ready for the restart. Moreno out in front. Kyle Benson on the outside of the front row. The first time that someone not named Kosmin Ionescu is going to be in control of the restart. Moreno waits longer, and this time hops on the gas pedal with enough to clear still before turn one. And on the inside goes Schaefer, looking for a race-high second.
Yeah, about first time that we've seen really the leader go in the proper restart zone, as it looks like Tyler Murray gets into the outside wall. And how about Tyler Murray, Kenneth? He finds himself up into the top 5 for the first time tonight. Is not a huge fan of these cars, but as he gets the outside of Banks, and look at Porter making it 3 wide to the inside. Tyler Murray's had a strong start to this race.
He's going to hope that he keeps that track position. Now under fire from his teammate Craig Launslugger on the outside of turn 2. He had slapped the wall down the back straightaway, which allowed that paulscars.com number 5 car to get in the mix. Caution flag waves again, all the way to the back. More trouble, and it might have just been Dirty South Racing's JJ Hill, and it is. Oh, and the tow link is now cut off.
That's not a sight to see for Keelan.
Not great for our race cars here in Dirty South Racing. Just back-to-back yellows have been Dirty South Racing Camrys, unfortunately. I believe JJ may have a tow link down right here, struggling to wheel that race car. We'll get a look to see what happened to that 21 right here. See him in the middle of the racetrack, Brandon Gillis on the top side, and JJ holding his ground so far. I thought it may have happened right there off of 4, but it's going to happen in turns 1 and 2 here. It's through the corner somewhat well right now. Oh, the 20 car racked right in front of him, and there was nowhere to go for JJ, so it looks like back-to-back incidents for Kosmin right there.
And the race just continues to get worse. Remember, he had come down pit road. He was on cold tires. And there was help for sure. Yes, hard hit to the outside wall in turn 2. That is a hellacious crash. And then that rips off the right rear tow link from JJ Hill. So obviously a huge crash that'll send the former race leader out of this event. And I might have assumed here, Francisco, it was Alexander Schumacher who was running right behind. There he is, that number 68 KBueno Racing Chevy. And really nothing that Ionescu could do to react other than try and correct the car, but it was an overcorrection, goes hard into the safer barrier, and it's not the best first impression for Ionescu of this series. In his first start, his car will be damaged beyond repair at lap 60.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, he lost the lead, and that's all it took for his race to go in a complete 180-degree direction from where it was. And Shuey was just trying to go to the inside, fill the gap. I don't think the 20 expected him to go there, and as they were 3 and 4 wide in front. But unfortunately for Ionescu, he's going to lose the track position. He's going to lose the race car, and unfortunately, it's going to be not over for Kosmin here on lap 60. Prematurely, but he did show some good pace in his little bit of time he was running.
He did do during that green flag stint where he was out in front, had led greatly off the restarts, and the car had been performing so well, so it's not really a pace problem. It's just a matter of all these yellows. And with the cold tires, I mean, it's hard to handle that race car when the Goodyear Eagles are not warmed up like they should be when you get a couple of laps in. So for Ionescu, we can only hope that he comes back out on the speedway and completes the rest of this race. But as we slightly approach halfway home here from Richmond, Virginia, it remains caution-filled. And that is typical of this track because apart from Daytona in 4-wide series history, Richmond is the place where the most cautions have been thrown. Prior to tonight, Richmond had 106 cautions thrown in its 7-season history with races hosted since 2020. And that obviously will be compounded on with all the yellows we've seen so far tonight as of 62 laps running. So it really has been a tough way to get around this track without having a lot of carnage. And even in the next gen era before this race, 57 caution flags thrown. Green flag out again. Back into turn 1, the charge for Ethan Fonseca Moreno. He'll have his shot in clean air. And Jaden Porter, who made a great move inside 3 wide on the last green flag stretch, he'll have a shot from the top shelf on Schaefer for P3.
And that's a great move, as once again, Kenneth, the caution flag is going to wave. It looks like trouble in the back. I want to say this time it is the 11 of Chris Fowler.
Yep, trouble for the camoed number 11 machine. Fowler in his second 4-wide racing season had joined just about midway through season 7 and had some decent races, try to make use of it with a Denny Hamlin Mavis paint scheme on, but it's a brand new look for Chris Fowler in 2025, but not a good-looking race car with all the damage that he just picked up from the race and this incident here, lap number 64. So we get another look at how this all unfolded. And typical Keelan of turn 2, again, it continues to bite and grab drivers out of their attention zone. And for Fowler, he whips it sideways, crashes into Timothy Cook. And then right at the end is where Brandon Gillis has his nose in the mix, trying to evade the action. Unfortunately, gets involved in it.
And you'd think with all these yellows coming out and getting more people tore up, you'd think the racing would clean up as the race goes on, as we continue to lose drivers left and right. A lot of damage right there. Maybe this we'll get to a point where we can start to complete a lap here, but this is it's a caution-filled event so far, Kenneth. Very similar to what we saw last year at Richmond, where Brandon Hawken won without making a single pit stop because we had so many yellows.
It's been rough, to say the very least, here from Richmond, Virginia. Let's get a word with the driver running 11th right now. That's North Carolina's Mikey Neal. Mikey, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We've got you. Well, I know you've been a part of some of the accidents tonight. It feels like literally everyone has, just given the pace of this race so far. But in the short stints that we've gone green flag racing, what have you noticed and how have you been trying to attack and gain track position?
Yeah, there's not really much you could do once you get up here to the top 15. Really just trying to hold the bottom right now, running my line and trying to avoid all these wrecks. Seems like the top 15, 20 hasn't sorted out. I'm not wrecked up here all that much. But, yeah, just worse spots right now. I kind of went back to the back at the beginning after, I don't really know what happened, but a little miscue there. And then other than that, just everyone wrecking in front of you. So, you know, just trying to avoid all that mess is a lot. But as of right now, I can only run my race, hold my line, and try to avoid the carnage around me.
It's a fair point. I hear from a little birdie in our broadcast booth, Keelan Bosa, that we heard the words Joe Flacco when we brought you up into the booth. What was that all about?
I was telling everyone my fantasy team, and had to draft the entire Browns offense, so we got Joe Flacco on board.
Oh Lord.
Is that a good pick, Keelan? I'm guessing with that reaction, it's not.
Well, we can ask our buddy JJ here later what he thinks about his Browns offense this year, but I don't think it's anything good.
All right, Mikey. Well, we appreciate the time. Hopefully the fantasy team goes well later on. Best of luck on the restart.
Yep.
That's Mikey Neal, who nearly won a race last season at the virtual Kansas Speedway, had such a fast race car, and has been one of the great additions to this 4-wide series as we go back to the green flag at lap number 68. And this has been all about the restart game. And for Jaden Porter, he's starting to get a good grip on things. The Louisville, Kentucky native, the Ally Chevrolet, slips to the outside for P2 on Benson.
And a caution flag will come out once again, but I'd quickly want to mention the fact, Kenneth, that the Jaden getting up to 4th, as you see the trouble to Randall Payne's machine. Jaden getting up to 4th, he saw Ethan take the outside lane for the restart that allowed him to tell him when he was going to go so that they can launch together. It puts Jaden Porter now in a position to take 2nd, but he'll line up 3rd for this caution flag.
It's a good point for Porter as he tries to take over the lead and become the 2nd lead change tonight. There's a look at how things unfold in 1 and 2. Just quick contact again. Kevin D'Elia just being involved in this. And right in the aftermath is where Chris Fowler again finds the inside wall, but this time just a little closer to the exit of turn 2. So as there's trouble, quick contact with the back end of Schumacher Chevrolet, and around goes Fowler. Camel car has seen a lot of ugly tonight, and the same goes for a bulk of the drivers at the back of this field. It really has not been easy, and we really, over this last stretch, have not been able to even complete one green flag lap here in this 3/4 mile speedway. It's been just that difficult for those, especially at the back, to find their grip on this next-gen car that did have that recent update. And as we kind of dive into things, guys, we're on the cusp of another season update for iRacing next Tuesday. We're not going to be racing on the Wednesday that follows that on September 10th. That's because we are giving space for the iRacing build that's coming out season 4 of 2025, and what that will include is the final third of the NASCAR refresh update. Richmond was one of those tracks that got updated to build before, but we're going to have brand new Rockingham, a new North Wilkesboro, we're going to have brand new repaved Sonoma, the new Charlotte Motor Speedway with the new Roval configuration, the new COTA configuration. So Keelan, it's an exciting time to be an Oval fan before NASCAR 25 drops on consoles on October 14th.
It is. It's going to be very exciting. I mean, iRacing on the computer, getting the whole refresh, every track getting their nice paint. That's going to be nice, Kenneth. I know we've gotten used to the kind of bare minimum we've seen. I know when I got on iRacing, a lot of those mile and a halves, the infield just had no paint in it as all as we see Jonathan Jurgensmeyer hit pit road. Wonder how Jurg's doing tonight. We mentioned how he always races in that dark room, so look at him having a good time. Think he can hear us right now?
I don't know.
I wonder if he has us on.
I mean, we've seen guys like Jaden Porter have his TV right next to his setup, so he can put a KBueno broadcast on. I'm pretty sure there was a race recently in which we were on camera with Jurgensmeyer and he waved to the camera, but I'm not sure if my memory serves me correctly there. Nonetheless, his Red's Apple Ford Mustang comes in and out of pit road, just making sure his car is all set and ready to go. But Francisco, as we get ready for the restart, again, lots of excitement for iRacing, the new NASCAR refresh build, and even the new UI that's going to hit the sim. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming out iRacing here in the latter stages of 2025. I will say, though, it's a shame that the Charlotte Motor Speedway will get an update 12 hours within the conclusion of the KBueno truck race this upcoming Monday. So we're just going to miss that one.
Well, hopefully here in 4 Wide, we're going to be able to capture that Charlotte race. We're going to be missing it for SAC as well. Hopefully for Dropping the Hammer, when that comes back later on in the year, we'll have a chance to take on that brand new Charlotte Motor Speedway layout. Green flag out, lap number 72 of 170, and that inside charge from Jaden Porter is going to get him the nose ahead. A race-high P2 effort for the Season 5 champion. An outside wall hit for Kyle Benson. Wiggled at the exit of 2. Gets caught out of nowhere. Not sure if there's suspension damage on the Pennsylvania native's Ford Mustang. It appears not. He'll stay okay, but now further back in this top 5, and then the yellow flag out again. Spinner behind Nicholas Baumann.
Baumann in trouble in the back, but Benson, Kenneth, it looks like he was trying to put the power down, and the back end did not cooperate, and he overcorrected it into the outside wall, and that's going to really hurt his race car here.
Let's even get a look at it. Those are two different perspectives, one from Benson, one from Baumann, who gets a tap off turn 4 by Mikey Neal. And as Benson had come off of the second corner from the restart, here's a better look at it on the outside of Moreno. So he waits for Moreno to jump, and then he waits a little longer into the restart zone. That's where that white line comes up about, and that Quaker State launches off the line nicely. For Benson, it's all about maintaining that position in second behind the leader, where he's fighting Jaden Porter down the bottom. And I think, again, Keelan, it's just that transition from the banking. Yep, car was loose right before he hit it, and it was the outside wall from there.
And we've talked about it all night long of how tough of a track this is to drive. You step on the gas, it's a little too hard coming off that corner where that banking transitions, and it can really upset your race car and put some damage on it. And I don't see that 38 still in the top 5. He may have taken his car down to pit road to get service, but BBR now takes the 1-2 spot. We mixed in all this yellows. We have seen several comers and goers in his top 5 now. Brandon Banks has made his way up to the 3rd position. Craig Lautenslager, you see him in 4th. Eric Schaefer in the 5th position. And Juan Escamilla, he took a free pass earlier in the night, and he has now found himself in the 6th position on his birthday. So a lot of comers and goers mixed in with all these yellows and all these different strategies. I'm not even going to try to keep up with all the strategies we have on this racetrack right now, but we have seen a lot of people just make their way to the front.
And great to see that Escamilla had gotten his lap back. We talked about at Daytona how you could be a lap down early in the race and be able to get back on the lead lap and have a shot at good positions. Well, it's happening here at Richmond just because of all of this attrition. All those cars that have to come down pit road to repair their race cars, they're already giving up track position. So guys like Escamilla, who had problems earlier, can stay out and gain one by one. And then if they're able to pluck one driver off a time per restart, It's able to give them a positive net gain over the course of a long green flag stretch. And shout out to Murray Reedy Motorsports. Not only Kyle Benson up in the top 5, but you look back in 7th where Tyler Murray is. Tristan Bailey has been very quiet inside the top 8 in his Rush Truck Center's Ford Mustang. So good things for that MRMS camp, apart from maybe Austin Reedy, who's still trying to gain his footing in this Richmond race. We'll toss it down to pit road and to Charlie Byer.
Well, speaking of fantasy football earlier, I was just fixing up my roster to draft in a little bit. But as for the DNFs right now, only 5. It's 37 cars still out there on the racetrack. Brandon Gillis, JJ Hill, and Kozmin, who got a hard hit. No surprise that he's out of this race. Gabriel Dahari is also a name that I haven't mentioned. He's 29 laps down. So a lot of people still running in this race, but plenty with blown motors. And Duncan Fell will be the first car at least 1 lap down. He's 2 laps down, that number 8.
Thank you, Charlie. And with all those yellows, I'm not going to be surprised if Duncan Fall ends up getting his laps back just because of everything that we've seen so far tonight. Moreno out in front. He chooses the outside on the front row. Jaden Porter, who has gained 1 spot each on the last several restarts, try and take the lead for the first time and beat his teammate to the jump. He's got his nose still there as they travel to turn 1. First proper restart of which Moreno is going to be fighting in defense for the lead into the corner. He'll maintain pressure on the outside of the racetrack. Moreno back to the point as they chase back to turn 3. Hopefully we can keep it clean.
Well, the good thing that for Porter has is that he's in the voice call with Moreno as he peeks to the inside once again off of turn 4. But they're in the same voice chat, so he has a better advantage on getting these restarts down as the caution flag waves. Moreno's still in the lead crucially, but it looks like trouble in the back, possibly Adam Alishire or Austin Reedy. Austin Reedy appears to be slow and getting up to speed again.
He's had a rough one tonight. That's one of the gold Murray Reedy Motorsports Ford Mustangs that is taking part in Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. And this is the first start of Season 8 for Austin Reedy. He missed the activities at Daytona last week, didn't run in any of the duels the week prior, and had signed a waiver, gave one to Tyler Murray so that he could make the race. Same goes for Mikey Neal and one other driver. I believe it might have been Rodney Roberts. But apart from that, they had not been able to make that first race to the World Center of Racing 7 nights ago, so Reedy is in fact taking part in his first points-paying race from Richmond, and it really hasn't been treating him nicely as we'll get another look at how things unfolded. There was a car spinning at the exit of turn 4. We'll get a better look at who exactly that might have been, but it was a spill further up the road, down the grass, maybe a gold-plated car, so it might have been another Murray Reedy Motorsports machine. We'll see if we can get a better look at it this time from the aerial view at the exit of turn 4. Oh, it is Adam Alishire. So you were right, Francisco. Just another situation there for Alishire. He spins, and it looks like, as we see it on timing and scoring, he is out of this race. So he has called it quits after lots of troubles. There's a race off of pit road. Ethan Fonseca Moreno is in. He brings Juan Escamilla and several others, including Brandon Banks, Eric Schaefer, Craig Lounslager, Tyler Murray, and the list continues back to Timothy Cook and Kevin D'Elia. So at this point, it's a rather interesting pit road situation, and we'll have another lead change. This time it's Jaden Porter at the front, Charlie Byer.
And some, but not everybody, came down to pit road, and we're approaching the halfway point of this race. So about 90 laps on a single tank. A few, obviously, these yellow flags, that's going to extend that a little bit, but could be a chance for these drivers who haven't changed out for their tires that they started this race with to get a fresh set, and we'll see how this kind of unfolds. This is a strategy that you typically see if we were going green for a long time, but with how this race is going, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
And Hill had a big moment off a turn too, so he'll lose a couple of those positions there down the back straightaway. Move Michael Walls up to third. Now here comes Lawson Peel with the charge up the outside. Big crash in turn 4.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get some green flag racing with these guys right now, but another caution, and you see Trevor Haley and Alexander Schumacher getting into it. That kind of starts that whole thing back there, and then everybody just goes for slides behind.
I mean, we saw the leaders eventually pit, and I think almost the entirety of the field has pit at this point. The only, yeah, Jaden Porter was the last one left, so that means everybody has been to pit road at least once in this race, and I think when you go look at the earliest who's made a pit stop, they can all definitely get to the end. And when you consider this many caution flags that we have, Jaden Porter, though, probably missed an opportunity. If he would have pit in the previous yellow, he probably would have been a lot closer to the top 10, where Ethan Fonseca Moreno sits in 11th, but instead, the number 28 machine is going to be outside the top 25, so he's still got a lot of progress to try and make up. And a big move by Moreno to get inside the top 10 as they're already wrecking off of turn 4. You see the door banging going on between Christopher Bishop and Brandon Banks as they stack it up in turn 1, but we remain under the green flag. Multiple 3 wide lanes off of turn 2, but nobody appears to have got into an incident quite yet. Looking back up in the top 10, Moreno trying to lay down another position to try and get past Randy Showers and Jonathan Jurgensmeyer.
And they were 4 wide. I didn't think that was gonna stick, and it surely didn't. We saw he was second in line there towards the bottom, and nobody really wanted to back out of that 4 wide situation right there, and it's going to cost the 18 the worst. He just split it And he stayed out of everybody for the most part, but Trevor Haley gets into the back of him here. And we're going to see the replay here. You see them kind of swarm right here into a 4-wide position, and just slight contact right there is all it took to send that 18 around. Dusty Applin does a good job avoiding it, but Trevor Haley comes barreling in.
Nowhere for the Indiana native to go, and Kip Easley, the driver from Missouri, who had spent a good amount of his time in the offseason of 4-wide racing, or in part of the Drop in the Hammer Cup series, driving the 8 machine. And the driver is going to be on pit road again, more damage repair, and just the rhyme and reason of this race. It has been all about stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, and who can really be the best driver on the restarts. But even then, if you have to come down pit road, you're kind of basically done in this race if you find yourself involved in various accidents. And coming back to that point about drivers not really needing to come down pit road anymore, we look at AJ Green. He crosses the line now for what's going to be his 52nd lap. It's going to be 35 completed for Michael Walls, 41 for Lawson Peel, 34 for Curtis Kelly. And CJ Mounier, who started dead last in this race, in 42nd, the New Jersey native, slides up into the top 5 for Drinkin' Bros Racing. He's going to be on lap number 35 on his stint as a bulk of drivers come out of pit road. A lot of that damage repair, and we'll take another lap around this virtual Richmond Raceway. We'll toss down to you, Charlie Byer, to kind of get your thoughts on the new iRacing build, because I talked to Keelan and Francisco about it. But what are you most excited for when the build comes around next week? Well, he's speechless.
Well, I guess that kind of sums it up.
I'm pretty sure his fantasy football draft started 2 minutes ago, so he may be a little preoccupied.
Well, not the best time to have a fantasy football draft and this 4-wide race on a Wednesday, but not entirely sure that Charlie would have much to talk about from the details on pit road, apart from everyone at the back basically taking their shot at damage repair and getting their cars cleanly back out onto the racing surface. Been one of those dog days tonight from Richmond, no doubt about it. With all of those yellows you mentioned earlier on, how much chaos has happened here with just the level of chaos, with the level of crashing, the level of trouble. And that list will continue to add up of casualties in this race and the number of yellows that we've had thrown tonight. And we're still a long ways from finishing this race. 4 laps from 70 to go. And for our first 75-ish laps of the race, it took us a little while with all of those cautions that have come out. Green flag out again. AJ Green in control. Michael Walls, Curtis Kelly, Lawson Peel, and Ethan Fonseca Moreno inside the top 5. So if there's any driver who's benefited off of the yellows, it's going to be him in Moreno.
And he's done a great job of staying out of the trouble in the deeper portion of the pack. And now with these fresher tires, he's going to try to make light work of the traffic in front. He's got Peel, Kelly, 2 strong drivers from last season, trying to insert himself into this conversation. You see him trying to drift up into a higher lane and arc that exit, diamond the corner, if you will, as we're now on board with Peel. That should give Moreno an opportunity to peek to the inside of Kelly, but they're continuing to battle for third, with Walls getting away in second.
And Kelly, who was the pole sitter from Daytona last week, tried to start his season 8 off on a great foot after finishing 3rd in the championship runnings last season, or I believe it was 2nd or 3rd, alongside Steven Maggio, behind the eventual champion of Brandon Hawken. And the Columbus, Mississippi native of Lawson Peel won this race back in season number 3. It was his first career 4-wide victory, and it happened under strategy. So it'd be a little funny if Lawson Peel can get back to winning ways tonight from Richmond, and it would come down under a strategy call that he made all those laps ago. Nearly had a peak underneath Michael Walls. He's catching up to the Castro Edge Ford Mustang, near peak there entering turn 3, and back and forth is the fresh tire power for Ethan Fonseca Moreno back into the top 5.
He's going to insert himself in that position as Peel. Going to work on Micah Walls here for that position right ahead in 2nd place. Micah Walls, though, the Daytona winner, trying to keep that momentum up, put himself in a good position come playoff time. Remember, each win, 2 bonus points. Could be a good opportunity to stack him if he can find a way around green.
And Moreno has been really quick. He told us earlier on in the show how fast this car was. And remember that pass for the lead that he went on Kosminionishu earlier on in the night with a hard charge from that top groove. Now he's got a good run in turn 3, feinted the low inside lane, and is going to stay up high as Lawson Peel goes up a groove or so, just trying to get around in the clean air on Michael Walls. Left side of your screen is where the leader sits. AJ Green just about 3/10 ahead of what's going to be the fight for second right now. Inside goes Lawson Peel. They'll stack up at the exit of turn 2, but Lawson Peel is there. Back to turn 3.
And they see the dive by Peel on Walls. He'll drift up, make a little bit of contact. Those two as Moreno will sit back, maybe take it 3. He does.
He's going to the inside now. Michael Walls goes out of line to stay out of harm's way. Battle for second underway off of turn 2. Moreno pointing his nose underneath the Exalta Chevrolet, not going to give up an inch. And Michael Walls to help in the entry to turn 3. Moreno's nearly gotten clear, and now he is off of turn 4.
He's going to set his sights on that AJ Green machine up there. Those are two guys that I was looking at coming into this race. AJ Green ran second to Brandon Hawk in a good bit last year, and he couldn't quite get around that 98 car. And Ethan Fonseca Moreno, a former winner at this racetrack as well. He's going to be looking for it here, but look who's coming now. Eric Schaefer, a short track ace in that 3 car, has started to make up the track position.
Well, he led more than 100 laps in the Season 6 edition of this race and obviously got bumped out of the way to finish inside the top 3 and was frustrated after that, but it was still a relatively great finish. And could this be the breakout night for the Hampton, Virginia native after last season's troubles and crashed out in the middle of the race at Homestead in Miami alongside Lance Hill? He's got a great run off of turn 4, points his Chevrolet down on the bottom of the apex and looking to rotate nicely, but can't do so against Kelly. Pushing up on Michael Walls. Good battle for 4th. May start to build up.
And right now, though, most of the top 5 has gone single file, and just like that, Kenneth, we've done a good job in this race of already having our longest run of the night, going almost 10 laps under this green flag run since the most recent yellow. So it took us over 100 laps in this race to be able to do so. So now that we're here, can we go green even longer?
And does that give an advantage for AJ Green, who's going to be out at the right time in clean air? Moreno has not been able to gain any much time. He's still a bit faster to the tune of maybe 2 or 3 1,000ths of a second to 100ths of a second, but it's been minor differences, still 6/10ths of a second between those 2 cars, and not going away is Lawson Peel either. He stayed within grasp of Moreno. Now he'll be under a bit more fire from Michael Walls, who seems to be in the middle of that DBR sandwich. Outside wall hit for Schaefer. Inside look goes Kelly.
He's going to try to make a move on that 3 car and get that position back as we start to see this field single file out, and we haven't really seen much of this today, Kenneth, where we've just been single file throughout the pack for the most part. But I think with more casualties that happen in this show, it has allowed the opportunity for these guys to spread out a little bit and not be all on top of each other.
Giving a good chance for those drivers who have had strong cars to push up at the front. Onboard look with Jonathan Jurgensmeyer.
And it'll give you a good opportunity to ride along with Jurgensmeyer with his camera to see what he's doing and listen to what he's trying to do with his race cars. He runs inside the top 10 here. You see him braking for turn 1 and just trying to roll the corner, ease into the throttle. Very important to ease into it to not spin up the rear tires. And you'll run a rinse and repeat the same thing here in 3 and 4. You'll listen for the car right about there, ease into it, and it wants to slide more in turn 4 with the banking. But Jurg is able to do a good job, and he's running 7th right now, kind of where he's been most of the night, really. Not too flashy, has not really been involved in some of these incidents, but if he's able to pick up a top 10, that's exactly the kind of runs where, when we've talked to Jurgensmeyer, Kenneth, this is his stride. This is where he's able to be at his most efficient. It's pick away at these top 5, top 10 finishes and build a points cushion that way. Just a beautiful sound, isn't it?
It is beautiful to hear the car downshift into the corners, and now that we've settled into this green run, the longest we've seen, I think, the entire night, apart from maybe the first stretch of this race, it's allowed these drivers to stretch their legs a little bit more and it's allowed for those sounds to really come up, apart from all of the humming from the engines that are sitting behind the iRacing official pace car when you're at pit road or pace limit speed, which is about 60 to 65 miles an hour. Look at this move for third place. Eric Schaefer, shot out of a cannon, pinches Lawson Peel from the outside, and the Virginia native steps into third, looking for a hometown win.
He's going to take that position away. Schaefer, he has had success here on these short tracks in the past, and like you mentioned, Kenneth, a couple seasons ago here in Season 6, he led over 100 laps in this event, so he knows his way around Richmond, and now he's going to try to set his sights on those two cars in front of him in green and in Moreno.
And Schaefer, it has been a while since we've seen him go to victory lane. We noticed the issues in Season 7 when we came back to the next-gen car. He had won several races with this next-gen car before, Pocono, Indianapolis, some of the tracks where in 2022 and even a bit of 2023, he was able to find success, but it's been since IRP of Season 6. The all-out duel between himself and Lawson Peel that went into his favor happened midway through that season in a car that Schaefer really enjoys to drive. And now here is some newfound life for Schaefer as he steps into third and will try to chase down Moreno. And AJ Green remains on front with the gap now crunched down to 0.3 of a second.
And you've got to remember that Ethan Fonseca Moreno, he's on some slightly better tires than AJ Green. He's pitted a lot more recently. Green, if this stays under the green flag, is not able to get to the end of the race. Even with all the caution flags, he's currently 77 laps on his stint with approaching 50 laps to go. He's not going to be able to have enough fuel in his car to save that amount, especially after this run. I think Green, even if a caution comes out, he's bringing it down the lane again.
It's that double-edged sword, right, Keelan Belshaw? The fact that you stay out and the longest green flag run happens when you're in the cleanest air and in the best placement of the field, but now you've got to worry about your strategy, and you have to worry about the car right behind you who's chasing you down. Moreno moves up high in 3, looking for the crossover attempt off turn 4.
He's going to try to make the move here. He has started to put together that long run pace as we have gone on. So we'll see what he can do, if he can go to the top here and try to angle that car down on corner exit and try to push some momentum down the straightaways to maybe get a look going into the next corner. I think that's going to be the best way to negotiate with these guys going relatively the same speed, is wait for that door to open up. You got to get that speed off the corner. Look at how close Moreno gets to the fence there, nearly hitting it.
And remember earlier in this run when Moreno had been faster, maybe a couple hundredths of thousandths of a second, now he's nearly a full 10th faster than the leader of AJ Green, with Eric Schaefer being the fastest driver inside the top 3. Lawson Peel just a bit faster as well, 22.186, but these guys are duking it out as behind 3 wide. Juan Escamilla trying to play defense, Tristan Bailey, Mikey Neal to the inside.
That was the battle going on for 7th, with Escamilla nudging the 71 out of the way. This is a little bit further back. Nearly tags the outside wall as he's trying to hang on here. And there's Jaden Porter, who's shown up to the party in what is a 6-way battle for the 9th spot, being headed by Brandon Banks right now in that number 5 machine. And how about the rookie in his debut, Randy Showers, in this top 10 after the early trouble, went on an alternate pit strategy. He's gone over 100 laps on his tank. Expect a green flag pit stop by the 22 if we don't get a caution flag sometime in the next 10 or 15 laps.
Regardless, such a great run by Randy Showers as he tries to keep that 22 alive at the end of this race. And Keelan, I'd imagine a race like this is literally the hardest race to ever have as a rookie in your first ever start. Michael Walls is at a super speedway and he was good. He led a bunch of laps, but when you have so many yellows that it's so hard to differentiate yourself and also escape trouble, it can be really difficult in your mind mentally to get out of a funk and get back into this action. But Randy Showers has proven to be relentless, and now with a top 10 run.
Yeah, holding it together so far, has got his car repaired for the most part, as this race for the lead is starting to heat up, Kenneth. Moreno got a great run off turn 2, thought he may have been able to take a peek into 3, but look at the speed he's getting off these corners. He may make a move going into turn 1 on Green's back bumper. He's on his quarter panel right here. We'll see if he can cut it down and get the run into 3.
And he's been looking for that high entry, low exit point of the track, and it's helped him out a ton. You see him here swing out in turn 3, get that clean air, wait for the wash of dirty air to come around, rotate the car at the exit of 4. And again, he's got the fresher tires, so he knows where the advantage lies, but it's really about getting around the 48, who has been hugging that yellow line basically the entire run. Moreno used that top lane to get the race lead earlier on this evening. Can he try and pinpoint his Quaker State Chevrolet to the same promised land? Again, a better exit off of turn 4, but in the rear view mirror, Francisco, it's building. Eric Schaefer and Lawson Peel, they've stepped into their rhythm. Now they're starting to catch up.
They've been hanging back just outside of this duo. They're running within a second of the lead, but look at Moreno. He has the run. He's going to look to the inside.
Down to the bottom. Moreno looking for the lead. With 40 laps to go from Richmond, and AJ Green will fight back from the top shelf. He'll nose out ahead to the start-finish line. The door-to-door action will continue to turn 1, and now into turn 1, back in control. Ethan Fonseca Moreno looking for his second Richmond win.
Green, he's going to fight back here and try to make a move into 3, but I don't think he's going to have enough form right here, and that's going to allow Moreno the opportunity to try to pull away, and that's what he's going to try to do, and that's what he needed to do, because he saw the 3 getting bigger in his rear view mirror, and he knew the longer he stayed behind the 48, the bigger that 3 would get. But now being in the lead is going to be such a big advantage, and that was a great pass by Ethan, pretty textbook right there, to get to his inside and then wrap the yellow line from there and be able to start to pull away. But Green not letting them go too far as lap traffic starting to become a factor.
That was Jason Hastings at In-N-Out Burger Chevrolet giving way, and Moreno had to lift off the gas pedal just a bit. It allows AJ Green to get back into the mix in the fight for the lead. But look how dark that camera is for Moreno on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. He's on the West Coast in San Jose, California, which usually means that during these 4-wide races, there's still daylight out there. But now that this race has gone so long, it's dark in his room, and he is locked in, Francisco.
Yeah, locked in, and when we start these shows, it's usually sunset in California, but right about now, it's basically full-on night, as it is just past 7:30 local time in the Pacific time zone. And Moreno right now, this is when it starts getting down to his area, inside of 35 laps to go, as there's almost contact between Steven Maggio and CJ Munier. It has not been the night for the driver of the 51 after being involved in the early troubles and not really having all that much pace compared to some of his other teammates. It just kind of went down from there. He came in for a tire set, fell off on the track position and the strategy, but he's trying his best to recover. He's running in 14th and still has an opportunity to walk away with a top 10.
And for Maggio from Cairo, New York, the young driver who joined at Auto Club Speedway and also is in that list of rookies who have won in their first ever 4-wide race. This is technically Maggio's first Richmond start in his 4-wide career, because he had just missed this short track race early in season 7 and had a wonderful stretch of races to put him into the championship 5. 5 straight top 5 efforts, including a 3rd place at Homestead behind Brandon Hawken. And at Daytona wasn't really the greatest race for the 51 machine, but in the Xfinity colors, that's a throwback to Carl Edwards' last NASCAR Cup Series win that happened here in the Commonwealth back in 2016. That very famous bump and run move to Kyle Busch in the middle of 3 and 4. Keelan and Francisco, I'm sure you can give me the memories on that. But for Steven Maggio, you're right. Top 15 for him right now. In a great-looking paint scheme, but has a little bit to go before he catches up to Randy Showers in 13th.
What do you think, Keelan?
Well, you know, that race, I was visiting my aunt and uncle, so I listened to that entire race on the radio, on the ride back, and Kyle dominated the race on the radio. Well, I got home, walked in the front door, turned the TV on, and there was 2 laps to go, and then you know how that race ended. So you know, it was a bit of a shock to walk into the room and see that happen. But the complete opposite happened in that one Dover race, that when he passed Chase Elliott on the last lap, I turned the TV on with 2 to go in that one, and I got home and he made the pass on that one for the win. So I've been on both sides of it, I guess.
Yeah, I completely understand that sentiment, Keelan. I just hope that we see him win one more time before he calls it a career. So here's Jaden Porter slicing his way through the field. He's gotten into the top 10, and now he's making the move on Curtis Kelly for the 9th spot. He'll take that into turn 1. So Porter in this green flag run has been able to make a charge and has gotten into the top 10. All the while, Eric Schaefer and AJ Green are starting to close up on each other to battle for second. Right now on your screen there momentarily was the battle for seventh between Jurgensmeyer and Banks.
You know, I want to know, guys, as a NASCAR fan, when you get older, how different do your reactions get when certain things happen? Well, we'll answer that question in a bit. Caution flag out, and I believe it's Steven Maggio. Yes, it is off of turn 4. He's now the inside in the grass, nearly. And after our longest green flag stretch of the night, it is going to be another yellow flag thrown inside 30 to go, and it's Steven Maggio, a rare mistake as he was trying to catch up to Randy Showers inside the top 15. Oh, and it's contact with the lap car, Jason Hastings.
Oh boy, he's not going to be too thrilled about that one. I think he expected Hastings to be a little bit further up the racetrack and maybe not even completely alongside the 49 as we go overhead. This will probably give us our best angle of it all, as you see Hastings just let the 22 go, and I just don't think Maggio thought he was going to get towards him, and results in Maggio spinning. I don't think he got that much damage. He's going to pit anyway, and a lot of the leaders do. That's our longest run of the night. Tires do wear here at Richmond, so it's no surprise. But I will toss this to you now, Kenneth. With less than 25 laps to go between now and the checkered flag, who takes 2 tires?
I don't know. It may just be Moreno, but given the fact that he was in the race lead, he may just be comfortable taking 4 and beating the drivers in front. Anyway, it could be a risk worth taking at this juncture of the race. Who wants the track
2
position the most? There it is. 2 tires for Moreno, and equally 2 tires for Juan Escamilla, the birthday boy, going to step out in second.
And looks like the top 4 have all taken 2 tires. You got Ethan Fonseca, Juan Escamilla, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, and Jaden Porter. All 4 of those guys have taken 2 tires. And honestly, for the track position's sake, that's probably a really, really good move, Keelan.
And what a great pit stop, Keelan.
Because, yeah, we saw 2 tires work really well last year for Steven Maggio in many such cases. So I like the move. You can get away with it in this next gen a lot better than you can in a truck. I remember the other night at Las Vegas last week, Nicholas Bauman, he took 2 tires and it did not handle very well, but it handles pretty decently in these next gens, so I like the call.
Not bad. We've seen countless times 2 tires have given the way to the checkered flag, and with all of these yellows, you know, not entirely a bad call in that sense, because you think to yourself, as long as I can master restarts, avoid wheel spin, even if I'm on 2 tires or 4, with this track position, I'm just going to stay up front, hit my marks like Keelan's Keys told us earlier on tonight, and then just come away with the victory. I mean, last season it ended up like that. We had a solid green flag stretch. Then the last part of the race ended up full of yellow flags, went into overtime. Hawken just needed to master the restart and stay up front like he did all night long, and that's exactly all the business that he had to take care of for his win that time last season. And Moreno looking for his first W since the late end of Season 7. We didn't see Moreno come back alive in this series until the playoffs basically started to come around. He won the race at the virtual Talladega Superspeedway and then went on to win the Charlotte Motor Speedway race, which was that semi-final event on a very aggressive strategy that worked out in his favor. We know that in this next-gen car with the update, he is very strong. He's trying to continue to go back to championship form like he was back in season number 6. And this time to the restart zone, it's swimmingly well for the Californian, and even better for Jonathan Jurgensmeyer inside of row 2, takes away the second spot.
I'll say it's very interesting that he didn't take the outside lane with Jaden Porter as Jaden gets loose on the bottom off of 2. I mean, I know that in this series, Jurgensmeyer is a teammate to that trio of KBueno Racing cars, but I would have expected as there's Porter sliding off of turn 4. He goes sideways, but he saves it.
He saves it down the grass. Are we going to get a yellow flag? Yes, we will. And it's AJ Green who also had to slow up for it, and spinning is Michael Walls.
And that went completely south for Jaden Porter after the restart. Like I said, I thought it was going to be Ethan trying to help him out here, but unfortunately it looks like the cold tires being on brand new tires for the first time result in the 28 spinning. And I think simultaneously about 3 rows back, the same thing happens with Green and Walls as they rub together and spin into Porter.
Yeah, they did. They got sideways, and around goes Michael Walls, who was up in the top 5 from all of this attrition, and all of a sudden the yellows start coming by again. Here's a good look from Eric Schaefer. Was so close to the spinning Porter. Take a look. watches the ally car slide sideways. You can fit a paper in between those two cars.
Can you?
I don't know. It was so close between those machines, and Eric Schaefer gets around as he'll move up into 4th place. But back to the point I made before that yellow, Keelan, I'd say this is the perfect spot. If you're Ethan Fonseca Moreno, Jurgensmeyer, Escamilla, even a bit of Eric Schaefer, obviously you want the win behind, but if you can lock up a good finish, given everything that's gone down this night from a 2-tire call, might just be worth taking inside 20 to go.
I think so. I mean, anything you can take at this point. Early season, get your points. That's what I would say. Get the best finish you can. Make a statement. Get those points. You do not want to be on the cusp of 2 straight bad finishes. You need a good finish tonight at Richmond. That goes for everybody. Even if you had a good finish at Daytona, you want to make a statement at a non-super speedway track. So I like the strategy of going for 2 and trying to get the best finish you can, and that is what a handful of these guys did, like Jonathan Jurgensmeyer and Juan Escamilla up there with Moreno. So good to see everybody up front. Curious to see what Jurg will do to try and get around Moreno. It's been tough to beat people on these restarts today, but the opportunity could be there for the 2 car if he can somehow fire off good and then maybe get a good run off of 2. That door could be open, but really curious how he's going to strategize here to beat that 92.
Again, it's all about that restart, and that's what was changing hands between Cosmin Ionescu, who was leading the race in the first stretch of the night, and then when Moreno had given a chance to go for the race lead, he had just stayed sideways on the outside, and it's really cool to see how Moreno was able to make that move then. For Jurgensmeyer, he's going to have to pick either of the lines that Moreno does not choose. We'll see which one that will be entering turn 1. I believe it will be the outside line open for Jurgensmeyer, so the Beckmeyer, Illinois native, will have a chance to take the lead, but he needs to make sure that he stays close enough to Moreno, and given the strategy call from Jurgensmeyer to take 2, got to be careful that you don't spin off of the second corner, Francisco.
That's going to be very important to not spin off that corner. We saw Moreno take the lead away from Cosmin earlier in the race from that lane, so we'll see if Jurgensmeyer, with the help of the restart assistance from being in the same voice chat, is going to play a hand in that 2 car. But very important stuff. If Ethan Fonseca Moreno gets this win tonight, it would be his 8th career win in the series, which would move him past his teammate Jaden Porter, and you know how much he loves to brag about him beating Jaden Porter.
Yep, there's a lot of banter between those two. Moreno would certainly like that. Green flag out back in the air with 18 laps to go from Richmond Raceway, and it's not a great jump from the outside lane, but it's enough to keep Jurgensmeyer in the 2nd spot off of turn 2. Now Juan Escamilla, the birthday driver, to the bottom inside turn 3. And how about 3 wide off turn 4?
Yeah, you saw Jurg bottle up right there, and it opened the door for Eric Schaefer to kind of force it 3 wide in the middle, and now these guys are going all over each other for that 2nd position, and that is exactly what Ethan Fonseca Moreno wants to see. But Juan Escamilla has gotten himself clear, and now he can set his sights on the 92, but he's going to have to look in that mirror because look who's coming. Eric Schaefer in the 3 car.
And remember, he is that first car on 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. Behind him is his teammate, also on 4 fresh tires in Lawson Peel. So now it's the duel of who has the better edge, depending on how many tires you took on the last yellow flag stretch. Schaefer still behind, trying to make ground on Escamilla, while Jurgensmeyer fights off Lawson Peel to turn 1.
It's going to be a battle for 4th for a good bit here, and Banks joining the party in this top 10, and so is Mikey Neal after his earlier troubles in that number 8 machine. Tristan Bailey just behind as well. But I don't know if those 4 tires are going to have much of an advantage here, Kenneth. We know what the 2 tires do for you as far as the handling of the race car, and that might be what Ethan Fonseca Moreno needs, is clean air, that kind of handling in his advantage. If this caution comes out like it does right now, it'll be just an even bigger benefit to him, as looks like it's the 53, Kevin DeLee, and I believe the 22 was involved as well. Randy Showers, the rookie driver, in trouble, and this will put us in a restart inside of 10 laps to go, which, like I said, is exactly what Moreno would like to see, because we know how important being the leader on these late restarts is.
And we could end up in overtime as well. So here's what happens with D'Elia. It was initially a stack up between Christopher Bishop and Jesse Prees in the midst to get around. They're just about 4 wide, and I'm seeing contact. Yep, there it is, turn 3. just caught the back end of Bishop and harmlessly spills to the inside of the racetrack. And for Randy Showers, this was an independent crash off of turn 2. Remember, he had just been in the top 10 a little while ago, and this was right in the middle of the pack. Keelan Belcher right behind Kyle Benson and Tyler Murray. He'll whip it out sideways right here in turn 4, and it's a dangerous re-emerging to the racetrack right in front of Steven Maggio. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it's very easy to get that car really loose off of 4 because that's a corner where you feel like you can put the power down because you have so much room to the wall, but the way the front stretch remains banked, it's different from the back stretch where it just stays banked and you stay in kind of a corner-like state, and you really can't get that pedal all the way down until you get to the start finish line, and looks like he got a little bit early there and spun himself around.
All right, so under the yellow flag again into the crunch time of this race. Let's now get a word with the Hampton, Virginia native of Eric Schaefer running in 3rd. Eric, you got a copy?
What's up, fellas?
All right, Eric. Well, good to see you up in this top 5. This car is fast. You're on the 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. 2 cars to beat to try and win this race inside 10 laps to go. What's this mindset when you guys take the green once again?
I don't know, man. This thing with the 4 tires, it's a little loose right now, so we're just trying to keep it straight underneath us and keep moving forward, man, and try not to mess up.
What have you noticed from the different lines here at Richmond? Because you've been hugging the bottom, but the middle has worked a lot. We saw you pass your teammate Lawson Peel with that move earlier on in this race. What line seems to benefit you the most, and how important is all that clean air, especially here in this portion of the field?
Yeah, it's really important, Kenneth. I didn't think that the clean or the dirty air was going to be this bad at a short track, but it is absolutely terrible. As long as you get your nose below somebody, it's definitely okay. But no, the outside's got some momentum, but it just burns the tire up, it feels like. But I'm just gonna sit here and see if I can get behind Ethan and let me and him battle this out here.
Well, maybe this could be the shot at your first win in a little while. Eric, best of luck on the restart.
Thank you, sir.
So Eric Schaefer trying to win in his hometown race, and like we mentioned earlier on tonight, trying to capture his first 4-wide victory since Season 6 at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. It has quite been a while since we've seen that 3-car in victory lane. For Moreno, it's a shot at another win, and to have 3 consecutive seasons of winning at least 1 race. Juan Escamilla, the Indianapolis native, is going to be in search for his first career 4-wide dub. Schaefer and Peel have done this before. Lawson Peel, the winningest driver of all time in 4-wide history, trying to capture his second checkered flag here, his first since his first ever win back in season number 3. They're stacking up at the beginning end of the restart zone, and they're checking up on the high side, and they're starting to crash. Huge stack up on the front straightaway. Peel, Banks, Easley, and more involved. Our biggest crash of the night.
Oh man, shades of Dover 2016. Just a big stack up trying to everybody time the restart. We know it's important. Moreno was waiting, but it looks like people in about the third or so row tried anticipating that jump, and it resulted in multiple cars just jumping sideways and standing and wrecking.
And it's heartbreak for Brandon Banks, the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina native, who's got tolling damage on the right rear. Similar phenomenon to what we saw with J.J. Hill earlier on in this race. And the PaulsCars.com Chevrolet was having a good run, nearly top 5, top 10 points finish. Now it's going to be squandered all in one fell swoop, as we'll get a late race restart once more. And let's try and decipher how this all happened on the restart. But clear and simple as daylight here in Richmond, Virginia. Keelan, it was all of that tire spin, all of this stack up from everyone just trying to beat Moreno to the line.
He's Schaefer. He's all over Moreno, and Moreno kind of may have laid back just a tad and stacked him up, and then Escamilla, he tried getting the jump as everybody stacked up, and he had to check up a little bit, and that just stacked everybody up and caused a big one. But that's the game you have to play here at Richmond, and kind of, do what you got to do. It's nothing's against the rules on those restarts. It's just a strategy you got to do. But you see Escamilla here on the outside here. He's the one who's going to try to jump this restart right here. He's going to gas it up, and then this is that shift right there. There it is. He can't get into second gear, and that's going to be what causes everybody to stack up.
Yeah, it looks like his transmission's having an issue, because even later then, as he tried to get up to second, it wasn't moving from that second position on the transmission. So something, possibly a hardware issue going on with Juan Escamilla. Arguably one of the worst times for it to happen.
Yeah. It was really tough, and it stacked up everybody, and as a result, Escamilla is going to drop from outside row 1 in second to inside row 3 in 5th, which it's not going to eliminate his chance at a top 10 and top 5 run, but it surely is going to potentially squander his chance at a race victory as these laps continue to tick down. So it's good for Eric Schaefer in a sense, because he's going to be outside row 1. The problem is, with how good of a jump we've seen Moreno get lately, it could be Jonathan Juergensmeyer pointing his nose down low and making it a proper fight for the runner-up spot here in the Commonwealth. And it almost reminds me, guys, of what Lawson Peel faced in the Season 6 championship race at Homestead. If you can recall, all the way back then on a restart, crucially, the beginning of the race, Peel had misshifted out of first gear, and he couldn't get it back into second, so it stacked up everyone on the inside lane. And thankfully, at that moment, it didn't bring out a yellow because no one else ended up in a crash. They all kind of got around cleanly, and everything was okay as Peel got off the racing line. But it's just that similar situation, just this time with a sequential shifter and a next-gen car. Couldn't get out of first gear while trying to beat Moreno to the stripe and to the run into the first corner. So it ultimately hurts the Indianapolis native, and we'll be ready for a restart inside the final 4 laps to go. Do we end up in overtime, or do we end this race on our scheduled distance? It's a much earlier jump for the Californian in Moreno. Green flag.
And that's exactly what he, I'm sure, wanted to do to catch Schaefer off guard, restarting on the front row with his rival. And that'll put Jonathan Juergensmeyer in an excellent second-place position. Kyle Benson now trying to see if he can battle Schaefer for third.
Nearly 3 wide in the back, Mikey Neal pointing his nose down under Juan Escamilla Chevrolet. And we will go into eNASCAR overtime and 4 wide overtime as well. And I believe trouble with Dusty Applin at the rear of the field. Well, not with Dusty Applin. We'll take another look. This is at the rear once more.
Like Jason Hastings again.
And it's just another slip up off of turn 2. Wiggled it sideways. Catches Curtis Kelly. And boy, that's a hard hit. Remember, we saw that 71 involved in the big time crash down the front straightaway. And there's nowhere for him to go as the ricochet off the wall from Hastings gets down into the 71 and sends him around. So we will end up in overtime once more. And it's Ethan Fonseca Moreno at the front, Jonathan Juergensmeyer behind, Schaefer, Benson, and AJ Green, your current running top 5. And guys, I'm sure it's not entirely a surprise that this race is going to go down to the final 2 laps, but the real question is, I'll start with you, Keelan, how many attempts will we have?
I'm not even going to try to predict it, Kenneth. I'd be wrong, I think. I'm going to say 1 and hope that's the case. What do you think?
I don't know. I'd say we'd see a solid 2 overtime restart. So we'll probably see this one get another yellow, and then we'll finish the race from there. Francisco, any thoughts on how many overtimes we'll see?
I'm known as the gambling man nowadays, I guess. So I'm going to go all in and say we will end this race under caution like we have before.
Oh, well, that's not the most enticing call, but it's probably a realistic one just given how this race has gone. But we'll see as the 1-to-go signal will come up soon. Next lap from the iRacing official pace car, and we'll get this race underway. So in our overtime rules, we have 3 attempts to end this race under green. Very different from overall NASCAR rules in which they go overtime until the very end of the race under green. They will take unlimited attempts until that race is over with. But here on iRacing and here in this 4-wide series, we have a maximum of 3 green, white, checkered, or overtime attempts. And here's how it'll work. We'll be double file for the restart with 2 laps to go, just like you saw that last restart happen. If the leader gets to the white flag and there is no yellow displayed before the white flag is thrown, we will end that race under green no matter what, and the winner will cross the start-finish line first. However, if we get a yellow flag inside 2 laps to go and we don't get the white, then we'll restack them up and do it all over again. We have those 3 attempts to finish this race under green. If we are on that final and 3rd overtime attempt and we still cannot get to the white flag before a yellow flies, the race, like Francisco predicts, will end under yellow, and whoever is the leader at the timing of the last yellow will be the winner. Back in Season 4, I believe it came down to a quick pass on an overtime restart with AJ Green getting around his teammate Colin Forrester. Does history repeat itself from the Commonwealth? Or do we see a brand new way to end this race 2 laps to go on our first attempt at OT. Moreno out in front. Huge jump. Kyle Benson tries to surge to second to turn 1.
Side by side is Jurgensmeyer and Benson into turn 1. Schaefer possibly laying the bumper almost to the number 2 machine as they continue to race for second. Jurgensmeyer slides a little bit. Schaefer giving him the bumper into turn 3. Will drift the 2 car up. They're 3 wide.
3 wide off the exit of 4. Benson shoved out of the way. Nearly spinning it down. Crashing is Eric Schaefer. But do we get to the white flag? I believe yes. No caution flag will raise, and it's Ethan Fonseca Moreno at the very front of the field. He won this race before back in season 6, and now he'll do it all over again in 2025. 8th career 4-wide win for Moreno comes from Richmond.
And a photo finish at the line for the 3rd place spot. AJ Grain over Juan Escamilla by 0.003 of a second. Wow.
Escamilla wraps up a top 5, but it's a 2-tire call from Ethan Fonseca Moreno as he survives out in front of an overtime restart and wins for the first time since the semi-final race back in season number 7. And his 3rd victory with a next-gen car in 4-wide history.
We talked about it earlier. He came off that championship in season 6 and had a bit of a championship hangover last year where he couldn't find anything for the most part until he got that late season victory at Talladega that he wanted so bad to put himself in victory lane. Well, now in the 2nd race of season 8, his ticket is already punched as he gets it done here at Richmond. Good win for Ethan. I know he's been wanting to get some momentum back, and he's going to get it done tonight.
The job is complete. Ethan Fonseca Moreno steps into Paul's setup shop victory lane for the 8th time in his career, passes Jaden Porter on the all-time wins list, and will become the first ever driver in Richmond 4-wide history to win more than 1 race. It had never been done before. We had never seen a repeat winner until this moment. Ethan Fonseca Moreno wins from Richmond Raceway in an overtime fashion above Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, and he'll park it right on the asphalt in the middle of the front straightaway. What a job by Moreno on the 2-tire call to come away with the victory. And with that, let's look into our unofficial results after 173 laps of action from the Commonwealth and 1 overtime restart. We're on the front row and on the top 3. Ethan Fonseca Moreno ends up with the win, his 8th career 4-wide W, with Jonathan Jurgensmeyer right behind in 2nd. I believe that is his best career 4-wide finish to date. AJ Green, former winner of this Richmond race in season 4, ends up with a great 3rd place finish, with Juan Escamilla top 5 effort for the Indy driver. Duncan Falk wraps up with the top 5. The 08 car gets a good finish tonight with Jaden Porter back in 6th. Mikey Neal 7th, a top 10 run for the Michigan driver Alexander Schumacher. Michael Wall's Daytona winner follows up his dub last week with a top 10 effort. And how about Austin Reedy, guys? What a recovery drive under all of the attrition and under everything he had faced throughout this evening. A top 10 is certainly a positive boost.
11th will go to league owner Tyler Murray, exactly where he started this race. 12th will be going to Kevin DeLeon, the number 53. Michael Newbrawl with a solid 13th place finish. Steven Maggio recovers for the 14th spot. CJ Munier will finish in the top 15. Lawson Field is able to recover after the late fair share of issues up into the 16th spot. Number 16 of Dusty Applin will finish 17th. Craig Parks will finish in the 18th spot. Curtis Kelly will finish in 19th. And Kyle Benson, who was involved in that crash on the white flag lap with Eric Schaefer, will finish in the 20th spot.
Jason Hastings in the 49 will finish in 21st. Randall Payne in 22nd. Timothy Cook finishes in the 23rd spot. Jesse Trees finishes in 24th. Christopher Bishop in 25th. And Eric Schaefer, who had that great run all night long until the white flag, is unfortunately going to finish 26th. Last driver on the lead lap. Kristen Bailey 1 lap down, finishes in 27th. And then we get to a bunch of cars that got 4 up today. Kip Easley in the 18 finishes in 28th. Tony Kivett finishes 29th. Brandon Banks rounds out the top 30.
Back in 31st is the first ever start for Randy Showers. Craig Lautenslager 32nd, Chris Fowler 33rd, Nicholas Bauman, Lance Hill, Trevor Haley. Lots of troubles for these guys as They ended up in heavy incidents over the course of the night. Same deal for Adam Alishire. JJ Hill, suspension damage. Gosman Yoneshu ends up in 40th place after leading a bulk of the race early and then getting into a big crash outside of turn 2. Then the final two drivers, Gabriel Dahari up in the front, had left the race, and Daniel Moore in 42nd place as this one comes to a close. So with all of that said and done, and after all of these running laps from the virtual Richmond Raceway, let's step into Paul's setup shop victory lane. But before we do that, Francisco, let's see the difference for third place. There it is. Juan Escamilla and AJ Green, 3/1000ths of a second.
If this was the battle for the win, this would be the new closest finish in series history, but instead it is the photo finish for the last driver we get to talk to tonight. Unfortunately for Juan, it's not exactly the birthday gift I'm imagining he was hoping for.
Not really, but honestly, a top 5 is really good considering the circumstances over the course of this race with all that he had to face, all the damage that he picked up. Top 5 is a big time boost, and the same for Austin Reedy as well in that sense. Let's join Ethan Fonseca Moreno in Paul's setup shop, victory lane. And Ethan, this one has been a long time coming, ever since season 6 when you captured this win in the playoffs. You got 2 wins last season, but now it looks like you're back in full championship, full-time form. How do you feel after the dub, and what are the emotions like right now?
It feels honestly great because, man, I just to kick off a season like this, bro. I just kind of, I don't know. I have some pretty good luck and all that in sacks, so with the way that's going, and getting wins early there, and I feel like it's kind of feeling a little similar to that a little bit. So I just hope to continue this, and yeah, man, it's good. Feels good to get a win early.
We saw our longest green flag stretch of the night in which you really got to work. You hunkered down, you took the race lead, and you really never looked back in front of AJ Green and company. How comfortable and how confident did you feel then in the midst of that, knowing the pace and the discipline that you had behind the wheel of the race car was rewarded with the race lead and more?
Yeah, I honestly got lost in half of the part that you said, but yeah, I was just kind of like saving my stuff for a little bit, just kind of giving myself a better chance to pass AJ there, and it paid off. We finally got the long run because I knew it was going to be tough, especially in the short run, to make a pass for the lead. So yeah, once I saw Eric start coming through traffic, I was like, man, I got to start pushing. So I started pushing a little bit, and then got my opportunity to pass AJ, and luckily made it quick. So which ultimately got myself the win there. So yeah, it's a lot of fun tonight. At least the last half of the race, because the early part was crazy. But yeah, good race with AJ and all them as well.
It is your 8th career 4-wide victory. You get on top of Jaden Porter, your teammate, on the all-time wins list. I'm sure there's going to be a little fun banter between you two on trying to level off with each other for the rest of this season. But it is such a big win early on this season. Now, how much of a confidence boost is this going to be, knowing your playoff ticket is locked in, and now you can try and push forward for the rest of the year for a championship 5 position?
Yeah, I can kind of just relax a little bit and not have to worry too much. And shout out to Jaden. Glad to pass him. He sucks, so I don't think he should have ever been above me anyways. So he's cool. Jaden, I don't know where he finished, but he was doing pretty good there. But yeah, definitely takes a lot of weight off my shoulders for sure, and I could just kind of do my own thing, not have to stress it that much at all. So yeah, that's nice.
Definitely a big boost, and now you're confirmed into the 4-wide playoffs this season, so you can try and stretch your legs even more and try to get more wins in 2025. Ethan, huge win here at Richmond Raceway, your 2nd all-time victory here at this 3/4 mile racetrack. Before we let you go, anybody that you want to shout out and thank for tonight's dub?
Shout out to all you guys. Put on a good broadcast. Being the main sponsor of the team as well. Shout out to Jaden. He sucks. All the guys in the BBR called tonight. A beautiful 1-2 with me and Jerk, so happy to see him doing good as well.
Hey, we forgot to shout out that as well. Last time you won here at Richmond, it was a 1-2 between yourself and Porter. Now it's another BBR 1-2 with you and Jurgensmeyer, so that's really cool. Ethan, congratulations on the victory tonight from Richmond. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate it. We'll see you in the field at Nashville Super Speedway in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So Ethan Fonseca Moreno into Paul's Setup Shop Victory Lane for the first time in Season 8 and his first time since the semifinal race from Charlotte several months ago. Let's try and talk now to the second place finisher. That is the number 2, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. Francisco, I believe, now to this day, his best career. 4-wide finish. You've got him.
And yeah, Jurg, this is what I believe as well to be your best career finish in the series so far. And it comes in what is otherwise known as a very messy race from Richmond Raceway. You showed good pace all night long to be in the top 5, top 10. What else did you change in the final half of the race that allowed you to close the gap up to your teammate Ethan to be more competitive in the second half?
I mean, once I realized there was gonna be a track or not of a lot of cautions at the beginning of the race, I decided to go off strategy a little bit, and that's what I did. And I pit really early, and then I decided I was just gonna pit earlier than everyone else, save a little gas, and then once everybody in front of me pits, I'd pass all those guys. So I stayed out when Ethan and those guys pit and got to and restarted about 10th or so, and just made my way up the field from there. And that long run was a tough long run for sure. My right front was not feeling very good at all, and I don't think I was very fast, but I was doing what I could to keep the track position. And then once that long run ended, it was just restart games from there. Me, Ethan, and Juan, we all took 2. I think someone else did too. I don't remember, but we all took 2. So that's how I restarted 3rd, and it felt really, really good on 2 tires, like really, really good. So we didn't get many green runs there at the end, or we didn't get any green runs at the end. But I think there was one restart, I was clear of 2nd, and it was just me and Ethan 1-2. And he really screwed up turns 3 and 4, and I thought I was gonna have a run on him, and then there's a caution. So that's where my opportunity was to win the race. And once I had to restart 2nd, I knew that Ethan was so good at restarts. I wasn't gonna be able to out restart him. I was fighting for 2nd at that point, and we hung on to that last restart barely. And yeah, P2 is really good.
Really good, and it's a nice change of pace from having caution flags in the middle of green flag cycles. I know you'll very much appreciate that one after the last couple of weeks, Jonathan. But now taking this top 3 to finish with you here from Richmond and moving on to, say, the Homestead Miami Speedway tomorrow night in the SAC Cup Series, and also 2 weeks from today after our off week in Nashville. How do you build on this second place run? How do you take the momentum from this race and apply it to these future races to try and keep this up?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'd say this is easily my worst track with this next gen car. And the fact that I finished 2nd is honestly just unbelievable. So, I mean, if I could finish 2nd in races where I feel like I'm a 10th place car, I mean, that's just the consistency that you need over a season. And tomorrow on SAC, I think it'll be a good one for me. In 2 weeks, that'll be a good one for me too. So, yeah, I'm finishing a lot better now, and yeah, it's feeling real good.
And before we let you go, Jonathan, anybody you want to give a shout out to that helps makes this happen for you and your number 2 team?
Shout out to all the BBR guys, Ethan, all the guys we're working with, Ethan, Duncan, Micah, Chewy, Mikey, so many. And yeah, it's what makes it possible. Shout out to you guys. It's nice to be able to be talking in the booth, not in a post-race, not in the post-race show. So yeah, it's just on a nice roll, and I'm excited to keep it going.
Yeah, it's always nicer when you're talking with us directly after the race instead of a few minutes after, Jonathan. We appreciate the time you take with us. Congratulations on your new career best finish here from Richmond. We can't wait to see you tomorrow night from the Homestead Miami Speedway, next Monday from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, when we hope to see you 2 weeks out in Nashville.
Yep. Thanks, Fran. Thank you, guys.
Jonathan Jurgensmeyer ends up with a P2 effort for Richmond. What a job. And after all of those top 10s that he had built up in his 4-wide career prior to that. It's nice to see that he ends up with his best finish here from Richmond. Now let's toss down to our third place finisher tonight. That is North Carolina's AJ Green, and Keelan, you're alongside.
AJ, this is one of your better tracks, and it felt like you were the only one who could really compete there with Ethan towards the tail end of the race. I know he got you at the end of that long run. What more did you need to get up there and stay competitive with him?
I needed my car to not have right front damage. I was tight coming off of 4, especially with the line I was running. I like to hug the yellow line, but as I put the power down, I got tight every lap, and I was losing time in the long run there. But that right front damage came from the many other incidents that was before that, and I guess at the end it didn't really matter too much, just stayed out of trouble.
Yeah, good P3 finish for you, and that's a good way to get your season started for the most part, as in terms of momentum as you try to make a playoff push. So the next couple tracks coming up, you got Nashville coming up, Indianapolis, Montreal. How do you feel like this schedule favors you?
Well, these next tracks definitely probably do not favor me. I'm probably gonna wait till Auto Club. It's probably gonna be the next track that'll be good. I think I'm excited for Montreal. I've been wanting that race on the schedule forever, and for it finally to be on the schedule, I think is amazing. I think there's gonna be a lot of just crazy things coming out of the last corner with the huge curbs. Yeah.
Well, you put together a decent run here today. P3 for you. You got anybody you want to thank for getting on the podium?
Oh yeah, shout out to Overcorrect Racing. We're new. It's a bunch of stonks people coming together. Shout out to y'all for broadcasting, and shout out to UNC Charlotte. I think we can beat UNC.
I don't know, man. That's gonna be an uphill battle. Did y'all end up beating App State?
No, we got blown out. It was not close at all.
Well, I guess Bill Belichick was not very good this past week, so you may have a shot.
There's a chance.
Seeing as how
There's a chance.
that team played. But I wish you guys luck, and it was good talking to you, AJ. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
That's AJ Green in third, and yeah, a little bit of football talk right after that. I'm kind of happy that FIU's on a 1-0 record right now on the gridiron after beating Bethune-Cookman, but then again, they're playing Bethune-Cookman of all teams, and they're going to be in Happy Valley playing Penn State away. So that's going to be a fun thing.
Hey, Kenneth, and how about the University of Miami taking down Notre Dame?
Yeah, that was a big-time win. 2 ranked teams. Notre Dame was the higher-ranked team after being deep into the college football playoffs last season. But apart from the football talk, we end up in this final race, or in this final laps, and with the final interviews tonight from the virtual Richmond Raceway. And now we get to move forward, and a new look. Music City will be up upon us. Next race on September 17th. We are taking a week off next Wednesday because of the new iRacing Season 4 2025 build. So you won't want to miss any of the coverage when we return the following week on September 17th. From there, we'll continue on our season through Indianapolis, Montreal, and just roll through the regular season through the late ends of 2025 and bring in the new year with a chance to crown a champion later in the season at the virtual Auto Club Speedway. But a lot more to behold on the KBueno Racing Network after this race tonight. Tomorrow we'll be live for SAC Cup Series action from South Florida in the virtual homestead of Miami Speedway. That coverage comes to you live at 8:35 p.m. Eastern. You'll find myself, Francisco, and our brand new broadcast member, Nate Polite, on the call for that as well, hopefully from Homestead, Florida. And then we'll be back for KBRN Truck Series action and one of the longest races of the season. It's Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll be back for coverage then. It will be right before the new build, so we'll miss out on the brand new rescan, unfortunately, but still will be a lot of fun. We hope you are there to join us as well. And the following week, we'll have possible coverage of SAC Cup Series action as they wrap up their regular season and go into their Eliminator Chase format from Darlington Raceway. So what a way to end this one. And guys, we'll get your final thoughts on this before we wrap up our coverage tonight. Keelan, obviously typical of Richmond in its history, lots of yellows, but great that we had that long green flag run, and an even better sound for Ethan Fonseca Moreno, who's able to capture his 8th career 4-wide dub.
Yeah, well, we opened the show by saying this is the calamity track 4-4 wide, over 100 yellows at this track coming into today, and it just added to that total today. But once everything kind of got strung out, I think Ethan Fonseca-Moreno really showed that he had the fastest car today, and he had the most speed out of anybody, and that's what he did to put it in victory lane. And he's going to be really happy with that when he's qualified for the playoffs. He doesn't have to worry about the points battle, so good for Ethan, and he'll be looking to add to that. He can kind of race carefree for the rest of the season.
It'll be a lot of fun to see what Moreno can do now that he's in much more of a relaxed state of mind, now that he's got the win. Francisco, fresh and out of Richmond, I'm sure a lot of drivers would want to get out of here given how chaotic that race was. But as we push forward, Nashville Super Speedway has given us bangers of a race before. It could be another chance for some strategy and all of that discipline to kick in.
Yeah, but these next couple of races after this week are going to be some really great, but also very different racing styles. Nashville Super Speedway is a kind of an intermediate type of racetrack, even though it's slightly shorter and lesser banked. It's a concrete racetrack as well, so the surface treats the cars a lot more differently than an asphalt racetrack would. Indianapolis, there needs no introduction, Kenneth. It is the racing capital of the world. 4 distinct corners, home to the Indianapolis 500 for over 110 years, and NASCAR for over 30 years. Can't wait to get to that racetrack and get to tackle it in this series. And of course, we go beyond the borders for the first time in the Cup Series history and go to Montreal, a very exciting racetrack, a brand new opportunity for the series and for us to cover a race outside the United States. And I can't wait to be on the track for all 3 of them, hoping that I can show you guys proud.
Yep, hopefully another victory in the 4-wide series can come for you, Francisco. We'll be happy to see you out on track. But until then, that will do it for us here at the KBueno Racing Network from the virtual Commonwealth of Virginia. A huge congratulations to Ethan Fonseca-Moreno on his first win of Season 8 and on his 8th career 4-wide victory as he tries to shoot for his second ever 4-wide title later in the season. On behalf of everyone at 4-Wide Racing, for Tyler Murray and all of the league managers and admin council people to make this series run week in and week out, and on behalf of every person that's part of the KBueno Racing Network, for Nate Polite, Eli Comerford, and for my wonderful crew on the broadcast alongside me tonight. My colleagues Francisco Bacallao and Keelan Belsha, our pit reporter Charlie Byer, and on behalf of myself, Kenneth Bueno, we wave goodbye from Richmond, Virginia. We'll be back in action 2 weeks from tonight from the Music City and Nashville Super Speedway. But until then, the top of the throne, it's Ethan Fonseca-Moreno, career win number 8 and first of the season.